disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
We just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing. Lobito! Got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
All right, this is King Bucho. Welcome to BDA Boxing, the boxing debate arena. We have a special show because it's going to be controversial. It's going to get controversial, and that's what we want. A little bit of chaos here. All right, first, before we begin, shout out to everybody in the chat. J. Colt, Knockout Nat, Super Sardonic, The Dawn, All Day, Everyday Boxing, Fluffy Toaster 89, Official Boxing Scorecard, Grim Reaper, 2 Matador, Timothy Figueroa. Guys, welcome to the show. And I want to especially thank those who have subscribed to the membership program. Really appreciate it. And I support everybody. I want to congratulate everybody who supports the show. Unfortunately, I couldn't retweet the show. Hold on. Apparently, my mic is a bit low. Couldn't retweet. I don't know for you guys if Twitter is working. I think Twitter is down. I'm boosting my volume here. Testing. I think Chief is here. Chief, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Is my sound okay?
You sound fine to me.
Maybe it's on YouTube. Mr. BDA is telling me that my sound... Mr. BDA, tell me if... let me know if my sound's still low on YouTube. Apparently, it's fine on Discord. Jim is supposed to join us later on to discuss what's been happening with Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. Chief, I don't know if you've been following this whole drama.
When it comes to PBC playing outside the rules or with other people, I know there's always drama, but I haven't really been paying attention to too much about weight classes or the ins and outs quite yet. So as I find out more, I will have more to say.
All right. From what I read, it appears that Tank Davis, or his camp at least, is asking, or they want to have full control of a rematch or potential rematch even if Tank loses, which is kind of unheard of.
Well, the A side has said that before. That's what De La Hoya won with Mayweather. It's one of the reasons why that fell apart. That's what Leonard wanted after he beat Hagler. So it's not a surprise that Tank's going to think he's the A side and he's going to have A side privileges in both matches due to egos. And but I don't know why they would think such a thing. It's not like they have a major promotional standpoint in anything. I don't even know where this fight's going to be taking place between Showtime and DAZN. So with that being said, how much of a foothold do they really have? This isn't even for a title, so it's still a catch weight. Am I correct?
136. From what
Yeah, so it's a catch weight. So what foothold does he have on anything other than the fact that he's sold pay-per-view? Well, and he does sell a lot of the box office. Even Steve Kim's acknowledged that. But Coach Malachi has guests on his show that validate the fact that every time Ryan fights, on DAZN, subscriptions go up drastically for the month that he fights, and some people just will get it for like a month, and then they'll kind of let it die off, and they'll resubscribe every time he has a fight. So he sells too, apparently. So where's this idea that they have anything to go on to stay an A-side throughout the whole thing? I don't know what they're basing this off of.
Yeah, that's what I told Jimmy yesterday. I'm like, who's the A-side here? And why would Tank Davis be the A-side? I think they're both at the same level at this point. Like you said, there's not even a title involved. So do you think this is a duck? I guess. I mean, not a duck, but I mean, come on, you're trying to negotiate a fight, and you throw this into the negotiations where like you're gonna have full control of a rematch no matter what. What does that sound to you like? Is it fear?
I don't know. I think the word duck is used a lot these days, and sometimes inappropriately. To the point where if a fight doesn't happen, then one person's always responsible for being the duck, or being the one that's ducking. I don't know. This is two different sides of two different people that are currently on two different networks, because until Showtime cancels boxing, Tank is on Showtime. And Ryan's on DAZN. They're two different promoters. They're two different everythings. They're two different weight classes. So I don't see how this is like a duck on anyone. It could just be a simple fact of two people that have relatively good earning fighters, because they both earn well over $1 million a pay. I don't know about Tank, well over $1 million, but he gets paid 1.5. I don't think he clears $2 million. But Ryan's last fight, he cleared $2 million. So these guys make a lot of money for people that aren't mainstream all-stars in the sport. And neither one of them really has a foothold over the other. Tank's got more titles. He technically has a better resume. He has been a world champion at least once. Well, I know he's older, but he's had a legit belt at least once. Ryan hasn't had a legit belt, period, yet.
Right.
So if there's a way to make an absolute A, that would be where Tank comes in. We don't know what Ryan's gates are when he sells, because nobody really has asked that. But the crowds are not small when he's fighting, and we know that Tank can really fill an arena in certain places. So this goes back to what's validating the A side on all this. If they're not fighting for Tank's title, if Tank's not moving up in weight, if there's no vacant belt open, if they're not in a particular area like, say, Baltimore or Atlanta, where Tank is definitely a box office star, then where's this A side argument coming from? What are you basing the fact that you have to have A side control over everything, when if this fight's out in LA, you're not the A side?
Yeah, it's true.
Ryan is. So
it depends on the location. Yeah. What are people saying in the chat here? Chewy is saying Tank wants Ryan, not the other way around. Okay. Eldon says Tank is the goods. Toby says salute King Bucho, salute back. Vince Vega says Baltimore and Atlanta, the two biggest cesspools in a galaxy. Michael Paul, what's up? Listen, I've been watching, reading a lot of comments, and yeah, some people are saying that, it's Tank wants to fight. No, it's Ryan Garcia who wants to fight. He's the one conceding on everything, except on this particular point on the rematch.
We don't know if he's the one that's actually holding this up, or if it's Oscar holding that up. The fighter usually gets blamed regardless of how these kind of things go out. We don't know if Ryan's really saying, no, I want the A side if I win. We don't know if he's actually saying that. We just know that Ryan's side is saying that they don't like that offer, that part of the offer. And but like you said, he's conceding taking the lower purse. He's conceding the fact that, okay, I've already declared the fact I'm moving to junior welterweight. I'm going to go ahead and lose 4 pounds from my max weight to fight you. I'm already making this to where I'm not going to fight for a title, even though you have a belt. So, yeah, I would say he's making more of the concessions. much like some of the other fights that aren't coming to pass right now. When one fighter's making all the concessions and the other one's not making any, and then the fight still doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to call that a duck, then yeah, that's a duck. Most people would say that Spence is ducking Crawford right now based off the fact that Crawford made all concessions and the fight's still not happening. Right now, Ryan's making all concessions with the exception of one, and the fight's still not happening.
So who's involved in the negotiations? I don't even know. Is it Al Haymon or?
Well, Al's still the head of PBC. Now, whether he's got someone, but he's not the promoter.
No.
He always uses somebody else because he's only the advisor. He just has total, according to what Jimmy says, and I believe him. I think Steve Kim's validated this too. Don't quote me on that, but I thought he did. That behind the scenes, if let's say you and I have a fighter and we're going to offer Tank a contract, it's going to go to Al before it goes to anybody else. He has total say so of what happens within PBC. He used to. You remember that Mayweather used to be the quote unquote promoter. It used to be like a TMT event. He would use Mayweather as the promotional front so that he could still get away with being just only the advisor. So he rents promoters. I don't know who he usually rents because I don't keep that far into the business side. But I know that's how he works this out. Is he'll borrow a promoter, but he puts the whole thing together. So has the whole say so of what happens.
Okay.
And the fighters and everything else. But he's not a quote unquote promoter. He's not even really actually.
So he's behind. So he's behind the Spence Crawford negotiations in a way, right? I mean, we could say that.
Now that Bud doesn't even have a promoter, yeah, he's the total one that's making all the calls.
So that failed. Obviously, it has failed. Those negotiations are not going anywhere. And now this one with Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. So, is it safe to blame this guy? I mean, he can't even get a fight done with Crawford, who, like you just said, he doesn't even have a promoter. He's a free agent.
So it's safe to say that he wants everything that's going to benefit him the most, and then whatever's going to benefit his company the most. And so, with his company constantly losing platforms to show fights and losing, I won't say fighters per se, but losing sources of income, for lack of a better term. He's obviously wants to try and build his brand to where if he wants to sell it to something else. In other words, he wants to go to a platform. He was going to want to launch his platform on something else. If Showtime cancels boxing, he's going to want to take the fighters he has and said, here's my portfolio. Here's what I'm bringing. And he wants to be the only one that has any say so over this. Mm-hmm. So, and he usually goes through by having the TV stations subsidize his fights. Like Bob Arum has, he goes through ESPN, but he also has people that are usually with partnerships and other businesses. They're people that like invest into the fight and then get some of the back end money on occasion, right? Especially if it's a big fight. Al has no signs of that. I'm not saying he doesn't. People can prove me wrong, but with the guarantees he gives out, he's never given out a high 7 or even anywhere close to an 8-figure guarantee on a sole promotion from PBC. He gave out something like that for Deontay Wilder in the second Fury fight, but that was a co-promotion.
Okay.
So on his own fights, I've never seen him give out a high 7 or even an 8-figure guarantee to anyone. Period. Which leads me to believe he's only subsidized by whatever network is covering the fight. He has no investors.
Okay. Interesting. We need to get Jimmy as well in here, man. Michael Poe, thank you for your contribution. He says, hit the like, everybody. Yeah, please listen to Michael Poe and help the show out by hitting that like button, please. Okay. So, yeah, shady stuff going on with the PBC promoter, advisor,
as
whatever
always.
you want to call him. So, do you think this fight happens this year or no?
At the moment, I don't know. It's going to depend on. I mean, De La Hoya screwed up Munguia and Charlo last year or I don't know if he did. Or he's the one that made the comment. DAZN might have been the one that pushed the issue, but by saying the fact that DAZN had to be involved in the promotion when Munguia was only the challenger and brought nothing else to the table, that threw a wrench in the whole thing. And then what happened? The fight didn't come about. and then Charlo ended up not fighting at all last year.
It's
So,
true.
but I can't put all that blame on Al for that fight not happening, because in the 11th hour, when everything's signed and ready to go, and it's going to end up being a pay-per-view fight, oh, wait, you know what? We want our promotional company to be in on this too. Good. So as much as I don't like Al, he has his own faults. I mean, there are other people sometimes that get in the way. Well, Hoya might get in the way and screw this up too.
Yeah. Not all promoters are perfect. I agree. But when it comes to the PBC, I mean, I think they're the worst at this point. I mean, the biggest fight right now, some people call it the biggest fight in boxing right now, it's Spence versus Crawford. They can't even make that happen. So, but yeah, not all. It's always
with one of the fighters being a free agent, that'll be able to happen.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Brown Gone 1, thank you for your contribution. He says somehow we should blame Canelo, Bucho. I think he's being sarcastic here. Yeah. I don't know with Canelo. What's happening with Canelo anyways? We can talk about that later, but let's stay on topic here. Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis. So Chief, you don't think it's going to happen at this point? What does that mean at this point? Like, what about this year? Do you think we get this fight this year?
I think it could definitely happen this year, but they may each take another first. They may each take something and trying to increase the marketability, number one, because again, pay-per-view being what it is these days, I'm not positive that it's going to sell to make up enough for these guys to make the money that they want. They might have to still let it marinate a little bit more. Last year, this fight was only a possibility. Now that it's close to reality, now you got to find people that want to invest into it to make it profitable for everyone.
But here's the thing, though, and I think Mr. BDA sent me this message saying, like, because we were talking a little bit about this, because he told me to do a show on this topic, and we were just discussing what I could talk about, and he said, like, listen, Tank Davis, if he doesn't fight Ryan Garcia, who's he gonna fight? Because apparently the numbers that he did against Garcia in his last fight, they were terrible. Like, completely terrible. Like, how many? I think it was less than 100,000. Was it 60,000? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Number I saw was 61,000, which segues into the next point that I was going to make is these fights these days. These guys want. Everybody wants Mayweather Pacquiao money, but everybody knows it's hardly ever around. So everyone would probably want Leonard Hagler money, which were both of them got 8 figures. But what fighters big enough to generate that the people are going to pay into, that investors are going to put into, and that everyone knows they're going to make their money back? This is not one of those fights. And Crawford Spence is not one of those fights. Spence's best fight, pay-per-view, was $350,000 against the featherweight and Mikey Garcia, and they've gone down significantly since then. His last fight, I don't think, broke 200,000. It might have gotten right at 200, but so did Danny Garcia. Bud has never sold anything over 200,000, period. So if you take Bud's best, which is 120,000, I think, we'll go ahead and say 120, could be 160. We'll just go ahead and say 120. And then you take Spence's, which we know was 350. You add them together, you still don't have 500,000 buys.
Jesus.
So how are you going to pay these guys what they want when all of us know, especially due to the fact that Steve Kim helped us learn this, the cable companies are going to take half that revenue up front. So what do you have left to really pay these guys with when you've got to pay every fighter on the card? You have to pay every official. You have to make your money back from advertising. You have to make your money back for putting the deposit down on renting the arena, which may come through ticket sales. But if ticket sales don't cover it, then you got to make it up some other way. And then, of course, the business has to pay taxes on whatever profits they make. These are the nuances that people overlook when they think that boxing is just an instant cash cow.
But Tank only fights on pay-per-view now, right?
Right. Well, as of lately, yes. Since about the last 2 years or since I've been calling on to the show, he's been pretty much or since I've been on the panel, it's been nothing but pay-per-view. That does not mean that his pay-per-views have been profitable.
No, exactly. So, and if he doesn't fight Ryan Garcia, then we assume he's gonna fight on pay-per-view, but against who?
You mean if the Ryan Garcia fight falls through, who would he fight?
If it doesn't happen, right? You said, well, then they will both each fight somebody else, obviously. But again, but Tank is gonna fight on pay-per-view against Cruz. That's the only fight I could see that they could try and sell us on pay-per-view. Because other than that,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
not many people knew who this last Garcia that he fought was. I can't even remember the guy's first name.
Me neither.
I knew who he was, but I haven't seen him very often. And he busted Tank's face up pretty good, which leads people to believe, hey, Ryan might have a shot. So there is the element of being upset will help sell this fight. The problem is it has to sell enough to where it's going to cover. Because if Ryan gets $2 million fighting nobody, and or a former featherweight, and if Tank gets $1.6 million to fight a guy that you and I have never really heard of before, even though we may have seen highlights of him, then they're going to want probably close to $5 million a piece up front guaranteed. Okay, now how are you going to sell that?
Yeah. Big trouble. That's a good point. I mean, how are you going to sell this? Anyways. Oh, Chief, we're losing you, man. I think you're muted.
No, I'm in a drive-through. I'll be right with you.
All right, let's take a phone call here. 470. You're on the air. 470.
What's up, Bucho? Can you hear me?
Yeah, man. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
What up? It's Never Sober from the Discord. What's on my mind, bro? Tank Davis selling everybody Wolf tickets. Al Haymon selling everybody Wolf tickets. The Wolf ticket sellers. Fucking, if Tank pulls out this fight and doesn't make it happen, bro, I never want to see any of his fights again. I don't want to hear about him ever again. If they try to sit on this fight like they did with Thurman, not Thurman. Yeah, with Thurman and Spence, and then with Crawford and Spence, I don't want to hear about this full Tank no more.
Yeah, but listen, caller. Apparently, Ryan only has to agree to the rematch thing that they're discussing. So Tank Davis wants to have full control over the rematch, even if he loses. Shouldn't Ryan Garcia just accept that?
Hell no. That's what that bullshit. Like, they don't even want to have business fairly. They have to have it skewed in every way possible in their favor in order to even take a little bit of a risk. This guy's a fucking little bitch. You know, like, he won't even put his foot down and be like, I need to fight. Yeah, like, Stephen Fulton made the fight happen anyway, isn't he? Supposedly he put his foot down and in a snap of a finger that fight's gonna happen. So what's up with this full Tank where he can't put his little feet down?
Well, Tank says he's the A side. He's the A side. He deserves to be in control of the rematch, apparently. Just like Cambosos was when he fought Devin Haney. Right? That's what they're claiming, right? Yeah.
What would make him A side even? Like, he don't even got nothing. It's not like he has a belt or nothing. It's like, what the fuck?
Well, apparently, he's a former world champion. He's a former world champion. He's been on pay-per-view multiple times. What else? I don't know. That's what they're saying. He's the A side. He's been on pay-per-view. Former world champion. That's it, man. Like, I don't know. I agree with you. It's a duck.
Can I chime in for a second?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm not disagreeing with a lot of what the callers say. From certain aspects, depends on certain areas, which is what we said earlier, on who should be the A side. Right now, the reason why many people think that Tank is an A side, it depends on what area of the country you're in. Where I'm at right now, I'm on the East Coast near Norfolk, and I can tell you right now, they're going to think that Tank's the A side because of the people that are around this area that follow boxing. I'm painting a picture without saying the words if you follow along. But if you go out to California or LA, people are going to think Ryan's the A side. This part of what needs to be negotiated, worked out, and ironed out. But as far as the rematch, it's like what Steve Keem said when they were trying to make the Evander Holyfield-Mike Tyson fight. Evander Holyfield was really upset with how they were trying to treat him on the initial negotiations. And his manager said, look, can you beat this guy? I said, yeah, then let me worry about that, and we'll worry about winning the fight, and then, go to the next step. What Ryan should be worried about right now is getting this fight and winning. And then if there's no title on the line, so if the A-side thing doesn't work out and he doesn't like it, but he's got the win, dump it. You don't have to take the rematch because what's the penalty? They're not going to strip a title from you. You don't have one. You've got the win. Move on. That's what Ryan should do. Take this now. Take it up front. If you don't like it, and he wants a rematch clause, what are you going to send it to arbitration? Okay, big deal. I'll win again, even if I don't get as much money as I think to. Then make the courts make you take this fight again. In the meantime, there's nothing else on the line. Then walk away. You've got the win. You're now the draw.
Good point. Good point. All right, let's hear the caller, and then one last comment from him. Caller.
Well, let me say one thing real quick, and I'll hop off.
Yes.
I think Tank's going to pull out. I think the writing's on the wall. He's going to fight Abner Mares. Cruz was never going to fight Prograde. Watch Ryan end up fighting Prograde.
All right. Good prediction. All right. Take care, man. Thanks for calling.
All right.
All right.
That was a good call. That was a good call.
Good call. Let's take another phone call here. 773. You're on the air, 773.
I'm surprised the amount of people who are defending Ryan Garcia, acting like he's some no-nonsense, fight anyone, anywhere, anytime kind of guy. Didn't this dude pull out of a fight citing mental health issues?
Correct.
Am I wrong? Yeah, that was him. So let's try to be non-biased here. Let's call it down the middle. Ryan Garcia is a little diva bitch, and he's probably trying to play games. And is it true? Don't you dare pull that shit. Don't you dare, Ryan Garcia. You're a little diva, pretty boy.
All right, but hold on, Kevin. What do you think about what's happening now? With Tank Davis, he's saying that he wants full control of a rematch if it happens, even if he loses.
I mean, that seems to be the case in like every boxing match nowadays. There's always a rematch clause.
Yeah,
when isn't there a rematch clause? That's par for the course.
But Kevin, if Tank loses, should he be the A side? And the rematch is the question, because that's what's holding the fight.
Of course, Tank Davis is way more established. Garcia hasn't done shit.
No. Come on.
So even if he loses,
Garcia's got one win.
Pay attention, please.
He's got one win over a washed-up Luke.
If they fight,
washed-up Englishman.
And Ryan
He's got one win over a washed-up English bum.
Should Tank be the A side if he loses the first fight? Your answer is yes. Now why?
Should he be the A side if he loses? Obviously not, because I don't even know what that means. A side, B side. Like, I don't even know what that means.
If you're the A side, you're in control of the promotion. I mean, they want to promote the fight again. So Tank Davis wants full control of everything. If he loses, like, that doesn't make any sense. He's not even the A side right now. He's not even a world champion. What do you say to that, Kevin?
To me, he's more established than Ryan Garcia. In my opinion, he is more established. He's got better names on his resume.
By a lot?
By a good margin, yeah.
Okay.
Brutal knockout of the year against who's the dude with the little gauges in his ear? The little hipster. Who is he?
The little hipster. Who?
Rolly?
The hipster.
Rolly? No, that's...
He's a little hipster with the gauges in his ear. Anyways, brutal knockout, uppercut. Yeah, he's established. He's established. Ryan Garcia's still got work to do, man. He's still young. He hasn't done shit. And he's fighting mental health issues or reason why he's pulling out a fight.
Tank is the A side of the first fight. You're saying what we already know and what they've already agreed on. What's holding this fight up, and we said this a couple times now, and then you just agreed with us, is that if Tank loses this fight, he shouldn't be the main total control A side, however you want to put it. He shouldn't be getting the lion's share of the rematch. You just agreed with that also. And that's what's holding this fight up. That's the point of the show right now.
Okay. Who says that? What's your sources there? Jimmy? Is that what Jimmy said?
Chief.
What?
What's
my source?
What?
That's what's the situation? I don't know. I've read it in multiple sources. I can't name any off the top of my head. But yeah, that's what's holding this up.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be this case. It's always the case. It's he said, she said bullshit, like Limp Bizkit said. It's more he said, she said bullshit.
Yeah.
That's always
I
seems
like
to
that
be the
reference.
case. Oh no, he's holding it up. No. He wants this. It's always some bullshit drama. But I'll tell you this: quit acting like Ryan Garcia is the victim here, or he's not. I feel like Ryan Garcia is at fault. Something about it.
All right, Kevin.
If
Well,
you
thank you for.
we'll agree to disagree. I'll leave you guys to it, though. Okay.
All right. Thanks for calling.
Have a good one, Kevin.
Take care, man. All right, that's what we like. Different opinions. Please call in. Let's make this exciting, people. The number is on your screen. Call in. 480. You're on the air. 480.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep. Who is this?
Okay.
Rare
Rare breed. So, what up?
Here we go.
So,
Breed.
yes. What up, babe? So, yes, Tank should be the A side, and he should get control of the rematch, even if he loses, because he's proven to sell tickets and do pay-per-views. Ryan Garcia has not. Ryan Garcia has been in 2 weight classes in his career and has yet to win a real title. He has no leverage at all. And I know, it's not. And guess what? Let me finish. It's not Ryan Garcia's fault that this is happening. I know it's De La Hoya's doing, because if you ask Ryan Garcia, he doesn't give a fuck. If I have to beat him on Showtime, so be it. What difference does it make if it's on fucking DAZN? That's just some personal bullshit that De La Hoya is trying to. He doesn't want this fight. Ryan Garcia begged De La Hoya for this fight. We know this. When they asked him a couple years ago, what do you think about Ryan against Tank? Oh, no. He's not ready for that. Tank is a beast. We remember those comments. So, like, it's obvious what's going on here. So, and last thing but not least, De La Hoya has a history of doing this. He did this with Munguia and Charlo. There was always a fight about to happen, and he backs out the last second. So, one side has a history of doing this.
You're saying Tank Davis is a pay-per-view star. He sold 61,000 against this other Garcia guy.
Bro, why should we believe those numbers from a failed matchmaker and Rick Glazer? That dude's a bum. There's a reason why he's not in the business anymore. Nobody takes him seriously.
What are the numbers?
So why the fuck should we?
What are the numbers then?
Well, the real numbers. We showed you the real numbers. It's 150 to 200,000.
Chief, you want to say something?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
You're saying that Tank's last fight did around 100 to 150,000?
Yeah. That's around the numbers he usually does.
Yeah, but against who though?
I mean, unless you believe Wilder and Helenius did more numbers than Tank Davis and Garcia. Do you really believe that?
Tank Davis? Yeah.
No, of course not.
Yeah, I believe that. Why not?
Impressive either. So.
No.
Yeah, I believe Tank.
Look, it doesn't make any. It makes no sense. How can this Gates deuce that well, and then the pay-per-view just completely flop test?
I'll tell you why.
One, pay-per-view numbers are going down, and 2 people want to buy something that is attractive, but 2 fighters they know of, and one has a chance of actually. Both fighters have a chance of losing. People probably, more than likely, didn't think that, especially since most of the Garcia was.
Yeah.
So it didn't sell.
Yeah, but let's not get into the semantics. The numbers don't really matter, because the truth is Ryan Garcia doesn't have any numbers, period. So he has nothing to stand on here. You can't just say, if Canelo loses... One last point, I'll let you talk off promise. If Canelo were to lose to Bivol, do you think Bivol all of a sudden becomes the A side in the second fight? No, it doesn't work like that. You bring nothing to the table.
I understand that, but this is Ryan Garcia. This is Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. This is not some Russian Uzbekistani. It's something that lives in the U.S.
Well,
has really
Ryan
no fan
hasn't
base.
proven that.
You're
basically
Ryan has a fan base.
Media.
You got to be realistic here and honest. Ryan has a fan base. He's not Bivol.
Based on what? There's no pay-per-view numbers. There's no tickets numbers that we have. All you just based on a social media following.
Well, no, the subscription to the zone spiked when he fights.
Yeah, apparently a subscription.
You can't say, he's popular because he's got a bunch of social media. Okay, but you have to put that in real concrete numbers.
Well,
you can't just say because he has 10 million followers on IG.
Chief just said that when Ryan Garcia, hold on, Hold on. There's a super chat here. I'll read it later, Michael. Let me
Just
just finish
can
this
never-
point. Okay, hold on. Chief just said that every time Ryan fights, the zone, the membership goes up. People actually, for that month, they will subscribe. So.
Okay.
I mean, he has some
Does
pull.
that mean he should become the A side because of that?
Well, listen, we're talking about the rematch here. Let's say that the first fight is controlled the first fight is controlled by Tank Davis and his camp, whatever, PBC, everything, and then the rematch.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're talking about the rematch. Then yes,
as it should be. Like, who cares? Like, what difference is that gonna make Ryan Garcia? Is that like some kind of crutch if he fights on the zone instead of
tell
Showtime?
Tank Davis. Well, okay, then why is Tank Davis doing this then?
This is going to make both fighters significantly bigger. Whoever wins is going to make them significantly bigger. In an area where a guy is
Showtime is a bigger platform,
really close
anyways.
to drawing power and what they're paid, this is going to put someone above everyone else. This fight will do that to either one of them. So
is this Chief?
The question,
yes.
Yeah, this is Chief.
Okay. Yeah, you're right, Chief. So that's why if I'm Ryan Garcia, and I know he wants to fight, it's De La Hoya who's the problem. That's why if you're that camp, you swallow it and you just accept it. Yeah, it sucks, but that's what comes with being the B
They're
side.
both accepting it on this side. It's if Ryan wins
Mm-hmm.
that Tank's side is saying we remain the A side of this even if we lose. There's the dilemma that's going on, and what we're trying to get is people's opinion and why they think so.
I guess
so if Tank loses,
why
would he still
if this was Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney, you would have a point because neither one of those guys are pay-per-view fighters. They don't really sell tickets. So then, yeah, that one would make sense. But with Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia, that's not the case. One guy is bigger than the other guy.
But you use that Canelo Bivol example. It's terrible. I mean, again, both are.
But, okay,
it's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Tank's going to stay bigger if he loses. That's the question. Tank has a type of following, the leftover Mayweather following, that go off the undefeated, and that's what they follow, and that's what they like. And Mayweather never lost. But if Tank does lose, are people going to drop him like a bad habit? That's an unknown that none of us can answer right now. But based off of the kind of fans that I talk to of his, leads me to believe that's the exact thing that will happen if he loses, especially if he loses emphatically. We won't know if that happens or not until this fight actually goes through.
Let's say he loses to Ryan Garcia and goes to fight like a Devin Haney or something or Teofimo Lopez. He's still going to do great numbers. It depends who it matters who you fight.
If he gets knocked out, probably not.
Well, yeah.
You never know. You never know. All right, listen. Let's take another phone call. Maybe if you want, you can call back again. But we're gonna give other people a chance. All right, but
not to mention, I want to talk to you offline about this sometime. We haven't talked in a while, Rare Breed.
All right, Chief.
I see you, man. All right. Next, 914. You're on the air. 914.
Hi, BDA. What's going on?
This is Bucho.
I mean, Bucho. My bad. I'm sorry about that, Bucho.
You better be. All right, go ahead.
Listen. Yeah. Okay, so, Canelo Bivol is a terrible example because, Canelo, he may be the last, and, I'm only going by revenue, gate revenue and pay-per-view sold in this current market, right? If you want to blame piracy, you can blame piracy, but right now he's a superstar. So the whole Latin market, if you actually, I don't want to turn this into something. Okay, let me go. Sorry about that, guys. So, I gotta carefully choose my words here. Did you guys see the promotion for Caleb Plant to Canelo?
Yeah. Well, what about it?
The Showtime, what was it?
The All Access?
Their version.
All Access?
Yeah. Now, do you remember? Yeah, the All Access. Do you remember the scene where they showed Caleb Plant? He's in a parking lot with a lot of lowriders, and there's some, Chicanos there. And they were saying that, we're going for Plant. You guys remember that scene?
No, I don't remember it. Maybe I didn't watch
I remember.
There's this.
Yeah. Anyways, so
Gonzalo, do you remember it?
Yeah, briefly. He was on a green lowrider. He's part of a car club. Caleb Plant is.
Yeah, but that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So basically, this isn't a secret. Everybody knows the Mexican American market is the most lucrative market to tap into when it comes to boxing. In fact, and I'm gonna say this: you take the Mexican fandom out of boxing, and then the sport in the United States is just gonna go obsolete. It's nowhere to be found. Now, going to the topic at hand. Ryan Garcia can easily be at a Gervonta Tank Davis level had he just been more active. If he was more active, he would probably be an equal, if not greater, star than Tank Davis. And he could even follow the same formula as Tank Davis. Bring up fighters from a lower division, get a highlight reel knockout, and he could have started building his name. But even right now, with the metrics as the way it is right now, a Tank Davis fight without Ryan Garcia in L.A. and a Ryan Garcia fight in L.A. without Tank, they would be very similar. So depending on which market you're talking about, they kind of draw the same numbers outside of the East Coast. So I don't know if Ryan's ever fought on the East Coast. If Ryan was active.
But yeah, you said if Ryan was active, he could be at that same level as Tank. Okay, but what if Ryan Garcia beats Tank Davis? How far is he going to go up in terms of popularity?
Well, that's Tank's biggest fear, because then the Tank trained. Look, Ryan could take a loss, and outside of his mental recuperation, his fans will still show up to see him fight. If Gervonta Tank Davis gets knocked out, what kind of fans does he have? We know if Canelo takes a loss, his fans will still show up. He's taken 2 losses now on the big stage, and they'll still come out to support him. So that there's a lot of,
Okay, guys, but caller. If Ryan Garcia beats Tank Davis, he's gonna become even more popular. Does he deserve to be in control of the promotion for the rematch? Does he deserve to be in control of the promotion of a rematch?
Guys, this is the key thing here. Is DAZN investing money into the fight? If so, they deserve to be the A side in the next fight should their guy win. Remember, PBC is putting money for their guy, DAZN is putting money for their guy. So far, DAZN is fully invested in the Ryan Garcia business. So he has 7 fights left on the deal. DAZN, PBC is not responsible for who Ryan is. This is not an in-house fight. There's money from another company being invested here. Why is it so difficult to understand? Their A-side, B-side disparity is nowhere near the other examples being used. Canelo Bivol, there's a huge popularity disparity. Exactly. At the time, De La Hoya and Mayweather, De La Hoya was doing Mayweather a huge favor, right? Once again, we're going to talk about the Latin American market. You can't ignore it. That's what Ford was trying to tap into.
That's what I should have told Rare Breed. It's true, though. Ryan is bringing the Mexican fan base, and that's huge. Everybody wants a Mexican fan base.
PBC, this is the thing. When PBC was with Golden Boy, when both, it wasn't PBC then. It was like Haymon Boxing and Golden Boy. When they were doing business, they could mix up the card so that they could still get, the Latin fans to come live to the fights. And, each event would be bigger when both entities were working harmoniously. Once the split happened, you could see in different, PBC is always they're trying to do their version of a Cinco de Mayo, or they're trying to do their own version of it. I saw it in the Caleb Plant promotion for the Canelo fight. There's a scene, everything you see on TV is intentional, guys. Even the logo at the top right where it says the PBC logo is bigger than the Showtime logo. They're trying to tell you something. So if Tank loses, it's pretty straightforward why they still want to control the promotion, because the gravy train, they don't know where it goes from there. They do know in their minds.
If it gets knocked out, it's not going to go anywhere. All right, caller. We got to move on. Thanks for the call. Good call, all right? Call back again.
But guys, listen, I'm not trying to start some type of politically incorrect stuff here, but the Latin market is very, very important to boxing. You take away the Latin market, boxing goes obsolete in the United States.
Absolutely. Great point. All right, take care. Right. Let's read a super chat before we go to another call here. Michael Poe, thank you for your contribution. He says, Lomachenko versus Devin Haney. What's say, everyone? And Usyk versus Fury. Well, big questions, man. We're going to be talking about that later on. Because Lomachenko and Haney, apparently is that done, guys? Or is it, no, it's not done yet, but...
Not to my knowledge.
It should be finalized, I guess. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. And Usyk Fury, yeah, we'll talk more about that, Michael. Thank you for your contribution. We're going to take another phone call. Keep talking about Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. Holy shit. Yo, do you have a background noise? Yo, 956, you have a... All right. He's like in an airplane or something. Guys, make sure that when you call in, there's no background noise. All right? All right, let's bring in Gonzalo here. Gonzalo, you there?
Hey, how's it going, Bucho?
What's up?
Hey, Gonzalo.
Hey, how's it going? I'm 179 pounds now. Went from 200 to 179 in 3 weeks.
You were 200?
Awesome. I need to work on doing the same thing.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, me too, man. Anyways, what were we saying? We were talking about Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. I don't know if you heard about this, Gonzalo, but Tank Davis says he wants to control the promotion of a rematch, even if he loses. We haven't even had the first fight, but we're stuck in this conversation regarding a rematch. What do you think about this? Is he that big of an A-side?
There's a lot of buzz over Tank Davis because they spoke about it like he's the next big superstar. Yeah, he does sell out in his hometown. But if that's what he wants, hey, if I'm Ryan Garcia, I would just give it to him because I wouldn't try to have anything get in the way of the fight happening. This is what Ryan Garcia has expressed. He was willing to make any deal happen so the fight could happen. So, I mean, I would just give it to him just to let the show go on the road, have the fight happen.
Yeah, some people are saying that, they're bringing that up as well. Or just like accept that, accept the Tank would control the rematch. But I don't know, it just seems weird that Tank's asking for this.
Because remember, Ryan Garcia said he would knock him out in 2 rounds. So that sounds like he's pretty confident.
Is Tank confident?
I'm not sure. Tank is having second doubts because he says, well, Ryan Garcia looks bigger than before. He might be taking something. There's a reason why he didn't take the tune-up. Maybe he's juicing. I think he's having second thoughts, and he ain't with Mayweather anymore. So, yeah, he's probably having second thoughts.
Good points. Chief, are you still there?
Yes, sir. I like Gonzo's points of Ryan being more confident and everything else like that. It's like I was saying before, even though not his last fight, but the fight before, people said he was unimpressive, but it's his first fight with Joe Goossen. And sometimes you take a safe fight to go ahead and try new things so that you can become more proficient at them, and you take a fight where you're not going to look good because you're trying something new. And then his last fight, he looked pretty good. Joe Goossen's a good boxing mind, so Ryan's going to continue to get better if the two of them are really working together. If Joe's heart's in this to really try and make everything good, Ryan will get better. I don't really know much about Tank's corner and who trains him, other than that he was the guy pretty much his whole career. But I don't remember hearing of him before.
All right.
Real quick, to wrap up my point, my real quick point is the fact that Tank is not getting any better than what he's been. If anything, it looks like he started to regress. Yes. Ryan is still coming into his own and still slightly improving. I'm not saying Ryan wins this fight, but what I'm saying is if projections are going the way they've been, and if this fight keeps going the way it goes, let's say it doesn't happen this year, but suddenly they try and push it next year, I'm really going to start leaning towards Ryan, as long as he keeps progressing.
All right. Errol Stevens, thank you for your contribution. He says, Tank Davis lost his nickname when he backfoot bitched it against Little Santa Cruz. He's not a tank, stank, he says. Earl Stevens, interesting comment. Very interesting comment. We should actually analyze your comment. Dissect it. Very good one. But, yeah, Tank Davis, like Earl is saying, and like Chief, in a way, he's regressing. Right? He's not... What did he look impressive even in the what's the fight he fought? Jesus. Rolly. He didn't even look that good in that fight. I mean, he knocked the guy out. We know he has power. but he wasn't looking good, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
I think that he was being patient to walk Rolly down because he knew Rolly didn't belong in the ring with him. In doing so, he gave the perception to people that he's slipping. I still think he's slipping, but I think people are thinking the slippage is a little more aggressive than it really is based off the fact that he just wanted to walk Rolly down. And walking Rolly down, he got the shots in he wanted to get to set things up towards the end, and it made it look like Rolly, it gave the impression that Rolly might have been quote-unquote winning.
So he was being patient. Would you say the same thing?
He was being, yeah, I think he was being patient, but real quick, I think he's starting to let fighters come close to outworking him. Now, he didn't need to worry about Santa Cruz because Santa Cruz couldn't even punch at bantamweight, so 130 he definitely couldn't punch. But he was still outworking Tank, and a lot of people have been outworking Tank a lot lately. I'm wondering how much of it is him being patient, walking people down, and then even if that's the case, when's it going to catch up to him? Because Ryan Garcia, even if he's overrated, all right, he's still tall, long-limbed, fast-handed, and can punch. That's 4 things that Tank hasn't faced at all, period, ever. So
all right, good.
If he's going to try and catch back up from falling behind, is Ryan the wrong opponent to do that with?
Good.
Yeah, I
point,
agree. He's looking for the perfect shot, and since he's a short guy, he's never gonna get that from far away. So he's got to be closed, and the best way of doing that is allowing your opponents to get comfortable and start trading with you. And since he's a shorter guy, and once again he's looking for the perfect shot, when your opponents start trading with you, you're within the perfect distance to let your best punch go. So a lot of the times, he's always going to be losing the fights, just in order to get that opponent into the correct distance to land your shot. But one thing with Ryan that we've seen that Gamboa also did, and even like Leo Santa Cruz, when you're aggressive with Tank, that kind of takes away his ability to line you up with the perfect shot because you're keeping him busy. You're putting punches in his face where you're kind of blocking his ability to look specifically where he wants to punch. So the more you keep him busy with speed and plus power, of course, dude, plus power that Ryan Garcia got more than any other opponent that he's ever faced, he's not going to be able to land that perfect shot. Pitbull Cruz did the same thing.
If I were him, based off what you just said, Gonzalo, if I were Ryan, I would talk knockout and talk knockout and talk knockout and talk knockout, and then when we get in the ring, take all my power off my shots and shoe shine for 12 straight rounds from a distance, and just never let Tank get anywhere close to me, and just go, oh, by the way, who won? Just go ahead and shoe shine for 12 rounds. It might come close, and Tank might get close enough to land some good shots, but for the most part, you're going to be ahead on points to where he's going to have to start taking chances. And then you can either unload on him or just continue to stay on the gas, outworking him. And then at the end of the fight, Tank can pull the Bernard Hopkins and cry and say, oh, but he never really beat me. Well, the scorecards say otherwise.
Yeah, it really frustrates his ability to get set when you're throwing punches down his way. Just like any other fighter, but since he's short, he's really looking for that one power shot.
Let's talk more about that after we take this phone call, all right? 301, you're on the air, 301.
Hey, hello everyone. How's
What's
it going? I see we're debating hypotheticals again.
Yeah.
But, with Ryan Garcia and Tank, if the fight happens, it seems unlikely at this point. But if I were Ryan right now, I would just read this writing on the wall and continue kind of fighting, just sharpening his skills, kind of like how you guys were saying, picking opponents like Fortuna that kind of have the same dimensions of Tank, same stance, and knocking him around because Tank doesn't have anywhere to go, right? I mean, we've discussed this for a while. I think for like 2 or 3 years now I've been calling in, and it's been the same conversation. Like, well, who are we going to feed to Tank next? Like, are we going to drag up
on pay-per-view?
Mares? And
on pay-per-view. On pay-per-view. On pay-per-view.
On pay-per-view. Absolutely. On pay-per-view with half the arena corded off this time. Not just the upper sections, but we're going to have, like half the main stage, and they're just going to have like 2 camera angles so you don't see half the Korean arena is not full. But
that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like a Tank, he doesn't have that many options, right? And there's the court case pending. I don't know what the status of that is, but
you assume the worst, right? I mean, he did commit a pretty serious offense there. Something is going to happen to him. Plus, he needs money, right? Like, wasn't he broke? Like, wasn't there some story about him, like bouncing a check to some jewelry dealer or something like that?
I'm not sure. Didn't hear it. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he might not be fighting Ryan Garcia. He might be fighting thugs in the Diamond District at this rate. But to turn our attention away from this, guys, not this weekend, but 2 weekends from now, there's a fight coming up, and I think it's the one that we've all been waiting for. The one that I dare say that we, as not just boxing fans, but fight fans, have been calling for and deserve. That's right. Tevin Farmer is fighting Mickey Bay on the 25th.
God. They're still around.
Right?
They're still around.
You guys excited?
Yeah.
It's the return of Tevin Farmer after 3 years.
Depressing. Remember when they were talking about Tank Davis and Tevin Farmer? What the hell is that?
The return of the Mac, baby. Tevin Farmer's back.
Celebrating with some music over here. Yeah, that's terrible. But yeah, anyways, listen. You're right. Who the fuck is Tank Davis gonna fight if he doesn't fight Ryan Garcia? And like we keep saying, this guy's always on pay-per-view, so it's not gonna end well for Tank Davis if he doesn't fight Ryan Garcia next. Anything else, caller?
Yeah. I mean, just quickly, I'd say that I've been favoring Tank just because of Ryan's bad habits. I think those will eventually catch up to him. And Tank is pretty defensively aware just by instinct. But the longer it goes, right, it's not just that Ryan is getting older and better and Tank is getting older, because Tank's still technically young enough, but his lifestyle is going to catch up to him, and he's going to get rocked by light punches soon enough. Like, it's just a matter of time. But to be serious, I think Subriel Matias is fighting Ponce at the end of the month, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm really looking forward to that. So I like to kind of rate him into actual fights that will actually happen. Because, I always like to see a boxer when he's poor, because then he fights. Right? He doesn't have an option to sit around and talk on Twitter and, talk about his real estate like Danny Garcia or some shit. And if I hear one more podcast of a boxer talking about business, I mean, Jesus Christ.
No.
I think if you're taking advice from these guys, you got some real problems to find out.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to become like these type of economic gurus or whatever. But anyways, financial gurus.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for calling, all right? Good call. Take care.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
All right. All right, guys. Remember the phone number is right there on your screen. Don't be shy. Call in. Let us know what you think about this whole fiasco drama. This is typical for boxing. My God, this is pathetic. Sad. All right. Let's go back to the panel here. So, you guys were saying that Tank is waiting for that one punch these days. What about the Isaac Cruz fight? Was that a tactical mistake that Tank Davis made, or what?
I think it was an underestimating an opponent, and the guy was tougher than he thought. He did hurt his hand. Got to be objective. He did hurt his hand, and I think that affected his performance. I don't know what round he hurt it in, but he also fought someone who could take his punch, and what ended up happening was he took a lot of punches himself. If memory serves, I think he had around 200 amateur fights. So, and then he's now in his late 20s, and he's starting to get hit a lot. And some of this is due to the fact that he's constantly putting on weight and taking it off, and putting it on, taking it off. He's not going to have the longevity that his previous mentor had from the lifestyle he lives and the way he fights. He did have certain really good reflexes, like he did against Pedraza, to be able to pull back and stuff like that. That's at 130 when he was in his late teens, early 20s. That was 10 years ago. He's approaching 30 at a rapid rate, and he's getting hit a lot. And these guys that he's fighting are now bigger than when he was at 130. And some of them look like they have, pretty good power. This last Garcia, it was, I don't remember his actual record, but 11 knockouts in less than 20 fights. That's a pretty good knockout ratio. He could crack pretty good, and he was hitting Tank pretty easily. Rolly was hitting Tank pretty easily, even if he was studying Rolly up. was taking those punches off the high guard, which still has an effect on your brain. So I'm wondering if everything's just going to start catching up with Tank pretty soon, like the last caller said.
Well, let's go through the list of what you just mentioned. He hurt his hand against Isaac Cruz. He was taking punches. He underestimated his opponent. He's had too many fights, including in the amateurs, so therefore longevity. I mean, he's 30 years old, but he's like, are you saying he's had too many fights, so he's slowing down a little bit, even though he's 30?
Somewhat. That's kind of the point I'm getting at.
Okay.
The last fighter he fought, we don't know much about him, but there should have been with a TV network behind you and with the main promotional behind you, with Floyd being even maybe not still in the corner, but somewhat close by. You can't tell me they couldn't have got enough footage to study this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And if they didn't study him, then that was his fault. But if they did study him, they're still prepared, and he still got hit that much. The writing's on the wall that he's starting to get hit way too easily. That those reflexes of pulling back straight into a counter are going away. And he's going to have to start fighting out of a high guard, which is still taking punches. You're just absorbing that forcefully on your gloves. That's going to slow a man down.
He's been fighting guys that can take punches now, some of them, and that's why he hasn't been looking that great. He's looking for a one-punch knockout, so he's very patient and waiting, and that he doesn't look good when he's doing that. And he's been fighting some opponents that are much bigger than him. So you're right, this could catch up to Tank Davis. Fighting a big guy like Ryan Garcia, who not only has power, he also has speed, might be a problem. It's interesting though. Tank is he's not looking like a devastating fighter, like a tank, right? That's his name, a tank. He hasn't been looking like a tank, to be honest. Against certain fighter, I mean against that, what's the guy, the slow guy there? I keep forgetting his fucking name.
Hector Luis Garcia was too patient. He was too calm. I mean, being calm is a good thing. But against the puncher, man, you at least have to be a little concerned of what's coming back. You know, you gotta like tighten up your body, like clench your jaw and fucking be ready to take something back. Like fucking Pitbull Cruz was. Hector Luis Garcia was just basically just chilling, exchanging punches like nothing. Especially this dude was fighting at 126. Now he moved up to, I believe, the weight division was 135 against a big puncher. They underestimate the little guy's power. He can crack, dude, just like Pedraza. They make the mistake of thinking, oh, he's fucking little. I'm just gonna exchange with him like nothing. That's the mistake that Ryan Garcia can't make. Now like once again you start throwing a lot of punches, Tank Davis doesn't react well when there's a lot of punches being thrown his way. He's particularly good when he picks up on your cadence and he's got a second to think. And that's where Ryan Garcia is going to give him trouble. Now, after Ryan Garcia throws that swiping left hook, he's gotta throw that right hand or or rearrange his feet. You know, he's gotta take a step back. He can't dwell in the pocket too much because that's when Tank is gonna pick up on his cadence and get the counter. But I'm thinking, you know, the power is different. This is not Leo Santa Cruz. This is not even Pitbull Cruz. And when you throw punches down Tank's way, he can't line you up with that perfect shot because he doesn't have that second to place his punch perfectly. So I'm saying, Ryan Garcia, that's a lot to deal with, man. But still, don't get complacent.
All right.
I'm thinking for Ryan.
Yeah. We'll talk more about the breakdown of this fight later on. I think we're right now stuck in the gossip. The gossip phase here. LDBC, thank you for your contribution. LDBC's Most Wanted. That's his full name. Thank you for your contribution. He says, Saludos reports that Ryan Garcia may fight Regis Prograis. What do you guys think about that fight? Gonzalo?
Yeah, Regis Prograis good, but he's not invincible. When I saw him face Josh Taylor, he was getting pieced up too. I mean, he was switching from being a puncher to boxing. It was kind of like wishy-washy. Yeah, it's good to be good at two things and not be just like one thing. I mean, but he was having success being a puncher. So why did he get on kind of like on the back foot, start moving the waist too much, like Sleepy, trying to like box as well when he was having success punching? When he started going, switching up the style against Taylor, that's when he started getting pieced up, and that's where he lost the fight. Or it was close. You could have gave it to him too. But what I'm saying, people think that he's invincible now. All of a sudden, yeah, he hit hard.
All right, he's not
And
invincible.
I would say that Ryan Garcia, he's quicker. Yeah,
all right, so
Regis Prograis definitely like beat up Ryan Garcia because he's older, he's tougher. Yeah, possibly, but I'm saying, dude, people he thinks that Ryan Garcia, he's like I don't know what he said on YouTube or something, that he's weak, that he don't got the dog in him. Man, dude's getting the knockouts. He comes forward.
All right. Quickly, is Prograis a more difficult fight than Tank Davis for Ryan Garcia, or the other way around?
That's a good question.
I would say so because he's bigger and he's a devastating puncher to the body. He's really hard, but yeah. Go ahead, Chief.
I just when you say he's bigger, I'm pretty sure he fought between 139. He might have even fought around where Keith Thurman then did, and fought at 152 in the amateurs and trained his way back down to 140. I'd have to look that one up, but he's naturally bigger than both. He can punch, he can brawl, he can take a good, he can box pretty well when he wants to, and he can take a good punch. So yeah, I would think that he's going to be a tougher fight.
All right, let's take a phone call here. Let's take a phone call. 410, you're on the air. 410.
Hello.
Yo, what's
Hello.
up? Yo, you're on the show. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Tank Davis. I thought Tank Davis lost the Pitbull Cruz fight, not by much, but by a little. If his hand was hurt, that doesn't matter. In boxing, you don't get charity points when you break your hand. I would bet that Pitbull Cruz also had a damaged hand, or he damaged it in the fight. That's the life of a fighter. Tank is a devastating puncher, best I've seen. 40 plus years of watching boxing, I've never seen a puncher that good below 140. But when he can't knock you out, just like a lot of punchers, he's likely going to lose. He's not a boxer, contrary to what people want to say. That doesn't mean he can't box a little. Sure he can. He's been boxing since he was a kid. But he's not a boxer. He doesn't work off the jab, use lateral movement, none of the things that boxers typically do. What he does is he seeks to put you to sleep with that hammer. And that hammer is real. And so Ryan Garcia's job is to keep him on the outside, catch him with the hooks as he's coming in, tie him up when he gets on the inside, basic physics. Ryan's taller and longer, and that's his job. And Tank's job is to get all the way on the inside and fight Ryan on the inside and try to catch him with that uppercut. I think it's a good fight. Right now, I'm not sure who to pick. I think Ryan can maybe score an early stoppage, but if he doesn't, I would probably pick Tank late to perhaps stop Ryan. Ryan can fight. Ryan fought Devin Haney 6 times in amateurs, and he beat him 3 times. He also beat Victor Ortiz in the amateurs. People get the wrong impression of that guy because he's a pretty boy and he's had he canceled a couple fights, but the guy can fight. It's just that simple. So I'm looking forward to that matchup. And also I wanted to say Tim Tszyu and Harrison. Harrison better do his best to not let that fight go past the 5th or 6th round. I think he could absolutely school Tszyu in the early going of that fight, but Tszyu is just like his dad. If you don't do something with him to get him out of there in the first 6 rounds, there's a horrible beating waiting for you in the second half of that fight. And that's all I got.
All right. Well, great call, man. Yeah. I think you guys, you want to say anything on Discord?
Yeah, people think that Ryan Garcia is the same guy, and they just don't know. I'm assuming too, but just by the fact that he's older, he hasn't fought in a little bit, but he's probably, I don't know, 25 now. Dude, that's the age you freaking mature physically. And the dude got the speed and power, dude. Those are 2 things that hardly any fighter has, like, together. Like, Tell me about a fighter that has speed and power. Yeah, there's guys that had speed, like Camacho, Mildred Taylor. There's guys that got power, like freaking Mike Tyson. But tell me a fighter that got speed and power. There are some. But at the level that Ryan Garcia, yeah, he's largely improving, but he's got those two things, man. And that's a lot to deal with.
It is. His hook is. He reminds me, and Tank said this once too. And every time I see Ryan, he reminds me of Oscar De La Hoya. Only I think Ryan gets a little bit more whip on his left hook. Oscar had a tremendous left hook, and of course Ryan hasn't done anything to be compared to Oscar, but that left hook is real. And what he looked at like at 140. I mean, this guy, they're going to be surprised. Win, lose, or draw, people are going to be surprised at what he brings to the table. You know, like I say, to me, I don't know really. You know, I usually wait to make a pick the night of the fight to see how they look in the weigh-in, or the night before, rather. But it's kind of simple to see the geography of the fight, the basic physics of how each fighter should fight, and then I think if an early stoppage comes, it would be Ryan, and a late stoppage would be Tank. But the fight could go the distance and be a classic war, which would be great because they could fight again. So I just hope to get this rematch junk out of the way, and the fight actually does happen, because nowadays every fight is basically a Mayweather-Manny negotiation. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous what it's gotten to. I mean, we sit around here as boxing fans happy as fuck to see a girls card, which I watched that card and it was really good, but I'm just saying, man, I mean, every fight has turned into a major negotiation, and we the fans, then they want us to pay for it. I'm not paying for no matchups unless they're marquee matchups like Ryan and Tank. Yeah, I'll pay for that. Bud and Spence, I'll pay for that. But I'm not paying to watch Tank Davis fight a hand-picked opponent, or Ryan Garcia, or Canelo Alvarez. I'm not doing it. It's just I'm frustrated with boxing because I came up in the era. 40 years I've been watching boxing. I came up when Ali was the champ when I started watching boxing, and I've seen all the great fighters during those 40 plus years, Duran and Hagler and the whole thing. And I know it ain't going to be like it once was, but where it's at right now is basically killing the sport. There's hardly anyone. You can't hardly find a boxing fan on the street. I mean, you ask people on the street about boxing, they talk about maybe Mike Tyson, or they talk about the golden era with Leonard and them. They don't even know who the fighters are. I had a guy tell me boxing, there's no good fighters. I said, nah, there's good fighters, just don't know about them, because boxing is it's a caviar sport. It's an expensive sport to follow. Even if you don't buy pay-per-views, I mean, Showtime, that's $26 a month in my area. I got the ESPN, that's like $10. The DAZN's like, I don't even know, $15, something like that. So, we're about to watch a football game this weekend. Probably going to be the most viewed sporting event in the world, and it's free. You don't have to pay anything. You watch football all day on Sunday. Baseball, you can watch it all week long, all day and all night. Boxing, they want you to pay for every little matchup.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. And great points, man. Great points. Every major fight turns out to like they believe they see it as Mayweather Pacquiao, and the negotiations just stall. It's ridiculous. This isn't even near that level of fight. But anyways, caller, we gotta move on. But thanks for calling. All right, call back again.
Thank you.
Yeah, good point. It's true. All of a sudden, all this negotiation. Oh, it's somewhat of a big fight. Guess what? You're not gonna get it right away. You gotta wait a year and a half, and go through all the fucking drama. He said this. He said that. He wants this in the contract. Oh no, he said this. Ridiculous. 917. Go ahead.
Attention, listeners of BDA Boxing. Here to present to you a preview of Ryan Garcia versus Tank. Will Ryan Garcia's left hook prevail? Or will Tank Davis show his short right hand down the pipe?
I was looking for some music. Fuck. Anyways, anything else, man?
Well, considering Ryan Garcia is only in his first stage, will sell.
Fuck. All right. Thanks for the call. It took too long to search for some background music there. But yeah. Stay tuned for the next episode of Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis. Drama. Should be a soap opera. Like a Mexican soap opera. Telenovela.
I listen to another show, sometimes Blood Boxing, and he talks about the old school stuff that all we talk about, we watched growing up. He made a comment not too long ago that a lot of why he doesn't follow too much more of the sport is that it's less about fighters wanting to be great, more about wanting social status, and then it's also this environment that we're in. I think that we're a pretty good show, but there's too many shows out there that start talking about the business. Well, this fight needs to happen because, and Ryan just needs to take whatever Tank offers because the business is this, and like any of them know how to balance their own checkbook, and that's the problem with this whole thing is I try and keep up with some of it just to try and provide the news because this is a show that tries to get that out there. But I don't think necessarily that one side is any more dynamic than the other when it comes down to the business side. Neither fighter definitely is because how many fighters, when you go and look at the richest fighters in the world, right? How many of them are really there that are worth anything over 8 figures? Very few of them. And even if they made hundreds of millions in their career, like Mike Tyson, his net worth, according to Celebrity.com right now, is $10 million. He made $300 million in his career. So how many of them keep that wealth? None of them are businessmen. So this guy deserves this for this because I think this and that. But get over it. We need to see the fights. That's what boxing survives on. It survives on the fights. It doesn't matter who's the A side. It doesn't matter who you think is the better businessman because everyone thought Floyd was a great businessman. Guess what? He lost his last meal ticket as a promoter. So obviously he wasn't that good. So he was good for himself, but he's not good for the sport. Neither was Roy Jones. I thought he was going to be a great promoter. Ray Leonard tried to be a manager. We saw that didn't work.
Yeah.
These guys aren't businessmen. They're athletes. And it's time to get past all this when the fans start getting involved in it and starting to push the business as if they know anything about
why are why are fans getting involved in this, though?
I don't know. I think it's more fanboy stuff. I think people are taking sides to the point to where they're going to their favorite guy, and that's the other thing that we were talking about on one of his shows was that it's less about the people being fans of the sport and they're fans of fight. It's almost like a fantasy league. I'm fans of these fighters, but I'm not fans of these fighters. So I'm going to bandwagon on with this guys, and these guys deserve everything because I have my allegiance. When we were growing up, it wasn't like that. We may have been fans of certain fighters for certain reasons, but we loved the sport as a whole. I couldn't stand Pernell Whitaker. I still can't. God rest his soul. It's nothing personal against him. I didn't like his style, and his attitude sucked. But I watched every fight because whether I wanted to see him win or I wanted to see him lose, I still appreciated what he could do with the sport. I was a fan of the sport, not of him.
Yeah, Chief, sorry to cut you off.
Not just a fan of Chavez.
Could it be that you didn't talk about the financial side of the sport, because there was no need to, because the fights that you wanted to see actually took place? Right now, we're probably in an era that's much different, where the big fights are not happening, and so then people don't know what the hell to talk about when it comes to these two fighters. So then they start getting into, well, why isn't this fight happening? And start to come up with these reasons, and they start to try to make sense of the situation.
Yes, I think you're right on that. I think another part of it is the fact that they were all making money back then. When we were all young, $1 million could have lasted you the rest of your life. So if you got 10, good gracious. And it was more in awe of what they were making than it was a point of what we thought they deserved. Now, all of a sudden, with this entitled generation, Tank deserves this. What does he deserve? He deserves to give thanks to God that he's making a living doing something that, because he wouldn't be making his living doing anything else on his brain power in this world, neither would Ryan. So instead of they deserve anything, how about they're grateful for what they're getting, because it's far more than they're producing for anything else on this planet.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, there came a point in time, like I don't know, around 2000 after Mayweather retired that people associated boxing with when it comes to money, like, oh, that's fucking, there's like a certain like allure to that, like a rock star, like a hip hop artist, you know. If you're a boxer, then you command like a lot, like if you make a lot of money, it makes you like real popular. And but a lot of that had to do with keeping that old. And when there was fighters that all of a sudden they got into like Eddie Hearn, he was a sucker. He like, you know, Tevin Farmer's fighting now. But there at some point, Eddie Hearn was like, dude, I'm gonna sign this guy. I'm gonna pay him like $4 million. He got real lucky. There was a guy that, you know, there was fighters that were coming up and they were referring themselves as like, you know, I'm gonna be like a future superstar, and there was like this guy Anthony Sims. Like as soon as he lost, he disappeared. So a lot of dudes got lucky where they did make money a few years ago based off them thinking that they were popular and the people were suckers and yeah, man, this guy's good. But as soon as they took the loss, they fucking disappeared. Now people are not so stupid. They're picking up on that. So like the real ones are the ones that are surviving, or the ones that are willing to take the tough fights.
Interesting point there. The lack of risk. You don't want to take any risks, I guess. Listen, I don't know. All I know is that this fight should have happened, or should have been announced a while ago, just like the Spence versus Crawford fight. And yeah, it's getting pretty ridiculous at this point. Guys, call in. Phone number is on your screen. Don't be shy. Tell us what you think about this whole fiasco. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Yeah, the Ryan Garcia versus Prograis fight. I think that's an interesting fight. And actually, I like that fight because it is a challenge for Ryan Garcia. Prograis is obviously a world-class fighter. So we can see that Ryan has, I guess, a B option B. You know, a plan B, I should say. What about Tank Davis? I mean, that is if he doesn't go to jail. What are the options?
Well, we've been saying actually the Regis Prograis fight is better because Regis Prograis is now a legitimate lightweight champion. He's a WBC champion, one of the titles that Josh Taylor relinquished. So as far as like facing a real champion, Regis is and Tank is not.
Good point. Wait, Regis is he's a what champion, right? Is he a champion now again? Or I forgot.
Yeah, he's a world champion.
Which belt? The WBC, you said?
I believe
he's got the WBC because
Okay,
I think Josh Taylor he abandoned, and I'm talking about the real one, like the super champion.
Super champion? No, he's not.
WBC doesn't have a super champion. That's the WBA. But the point is the fact that a belt that from the legitimate undisputed champion relinquished.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one.
All right.
Regis Prograis won it, so he's a major belt holder in the division now. Now, who's the recognized champion? It's still going to be Josh Taylor.
Of course.
But there is something on the line now. There's something that if anybody fights him, they're going to have, and if Josh Taylor stays, they're going to have a bargaining chip to get a fight with Josh Taylor, which will make money. And it's also a step towards greatness because he's recognized as the champion of the division. So either side, you make out on either side if you get a fight with Prograis and win.
Do you consider Prograis like the second best super lightweight?
At the moment, I'd have to reevaluate the division,
who
but
is there?
He's top 4 easy.
So yeah, that's a great fight for Ryan Garcia. I mean, you're moving up and you're fighting a guy like Prograis, top 3, top 4. Maybe even number 2.
32 years old. Who's 32 years old. Been a lot of tough fights. You have a chance in this.
Wow. That's a great fight. And Tank Davis, again, I don't even know where he would go if he doesn't get the Ryan fight. Isaac Cruz, that looks like a good fight, I guess. We saw the first one. Mexican fan base is going to be there. Tank's going to bring his fans.
Is a rematch going to sell? I mean,
You see, it hurts.
Even if you have it on Cinco de Mayo, is it really good? You can hype it up to where it can get maybe 6-figure buys between the 1 and 200,000s, maybe. But is it really going to? Because Tank's used to getting $1.5 million a fight. Is it really going to sell to where it's going to make enough money? Because I guarantee you, Isaac Cruz isn't going to want the same amount of money he got last time. He's going to want more. Is it really going to sell?
You don't want the Isaac Cruz fight. In regards to Tank and Ryan, it needs to happen. And you know why it needs to happen? Because they talk so much. They talked a lot. And when you talk so much and you promise to give us the fight, give the fans the fight, hey, it has to happen, right? Because if it don't happen, it hurts you more. Because all that shit you talked, and all of a sudden, what? Your words meant nothing? They were fucking hollow. Right?
Especially if exactly. All the talk was for nothing, but if the negotiations break down because of this rematch clause, whatever they want to put in there, who are they gonna blame, though, Tank or Ryan?
Because fan bases are always going to go towards their boy. So all of Tank's fans are going to blame Ryan. All of Ryan's fans are going to blame Tank.
Objectively speaking, can we do that?
So we're pretty objective on this panel.
Yeah.
I'm going to pretty much say that the aesthetics are going to point towards Tank, but it's kind of I forget which Rivalry kind of had a point, even though another caller made a point that Hispanic that boxing in America is driven off the Hispanic purchaser. I get that, but Ryan, take the fight. You're already going to be the B side. And then if you don't like it, walk away, like I said earlier. And if the courts get involved and force it to happen again, and you're still the B side, then beat him again, and now you've solidified the fact. Yeah, I just retired Tank Davis, because 2 losses are going to be the end of his career.
Maybe in Ryan's mind, he's already conceding for the first fight, right? Like maybe Ryan already sees that he's conceding in the first fight, and now he has to concede again in the rematch, even if he wins.
I get it.
I
get it. And I'm with you. I'm tracking. I understand. And that I understand what at least his camp, if it's not him that's thinking this, right. We don't want to have to concede twice. And I understand that. And I respect that. But at the same time, right now, anything under 147 pounds, you've got a bunch of guys that are trying to establish themselves as something bigger than the division, bigger than the belts. Right now, kind of ish at welterweight, you have Spence and Crawford that are a little bit bigger than the belts, and then you have got up and comers, but we're not talking about them right now. Between lightweight and junior welterweight, you have Ryan Garcia, you have Tank Davis, you have Haney, Lomachenko, Teofimo, and then even the champion there, Taylor. Especially now he's got that kind of black eye from that controversial fight with Catterall. You've got a bunch of guys that haven't established themselves as anything that's going to be a major draw to make a major living off of them fighting them or them fighting themselves. So someone has to step up and become this icon that of the lower divisions that people are going to say, 1, that guy's great. 2, I want to see him fight. 3, everyone's going to make a living fighting this guy. And if Ryan beats Tank twice, then he is that person. And there's no disputing it. There's no arguing it.
Well,
and everyone will be a B-side.
Okay. Yeah, we're talking about financially speaking, the big draw would be Ryan Garcia. Okay. I agree with that.
You gotta give Tank Davis all the rights in regards to like the rematch or whatever the fuck he asks, because he's just looking for any little fucking reason, any excuse not to make the fight happen, because he's the one having second thoughts. If you don't give him any excuse, hey, he has nowhere to go. He's gonna be the one that's bitched out, right? Ryan Garcia, yes, he's just got to say yes to everything, man. And even if he does say yes to everything, Tank Davis is going to be, why did he say yes to everything? Right? He's a little prissy. He's a delicate dude, right? Because any sign you give him that, why is he doing that? He's going to question why you're doing it. So the less excuses you give him, the less opportunity you give him to fucking back out. He's still going to look for those. Don't you guys see that?
Gonzalo, I read somewhere that Tank Davis was making fun of Ryan Garcia for accepting basically everything that was put forward.
There you go. Right. It's like, haven't you ever had those people that come across your life? Why did you do that, or why didn't you do it? Always looking for a fucking reason.
Yeah.
Even when you're quiet, why are you so quiet? Why you talk a lot? Why you like this? Why you like that? Everything, man.
That's a good point. Official boxing scorecard in the chat brings up an interesting point. He's like, the Prograis fight is probably just a negotiation tactic for the Tank fight. Could be. Maybe Ryan is not even planning on fighting Prograis, but, he's just, basically telling Tank Davis, hey, if we don't get this fight done, I got other options. I can move on. Who knows?
Well, in Ryan's case also, if he does move on, let's say he fights Progress and he wins, if this fight still gets pushed, he's now going to be, all right, look, I've got a major world title. You haven't had a major world title since 2010-ish. Ever since you had that first WB or the IBF, you've had regular WBA titles out the yin yang. I've got a real belt. I've got a real belt and a real champion in a division above you. So Tank will lose a lot. Now, that's a big if, though, because Ryan, on the way up with skills and still developing and getting better, but Progress is a tough son of a gun. He can take a punch. He can weather a lot. His nose shows the fact that he's not afraid of pain. And he can fight. That may be another option, but do you really want to go that route? Because the winnable fight for Ryan between the two is definitely Tank. I'm not saying he definitely beats Tank. What I'm saying is the winnable fight between Tank and Progress is Tank. Because he's bigger, he's faster, he's got all these other things. Tank's getting older. I know Progress is getting 32, but he's hitting a second wind, and he's comfortable at that weight.
Yeah, he's bigger. No, in my opinion, it's a more difficult fight, but they're both difficult. Yeah, they're both difficult.
Yeah, they're both southpaws too. But I think, the more dangerous, the more complete fighter is Regis Prograis.
Yep. Guys, don't forget.
Tank Davis is a counter puncher, and he's got a lot of power, but he's short. So if you don't give him that distance, I don't know what to say, man. I think Ryan Garcia is too much for Tank Davis, man. He's gonna get clipped with the lead left hook for sure.
That left hook is pretty it's a pretty snappy.
I mean,
one.
listen, he took out Luke Campbell. He gets a lot of shit because he got dropped by freaking Luke Campbell.
Yeah.
But Luke Campbell had never been. Lomachenko couldn't stop fucking Campbell. And Lomachenko, when he wants to apply his craft, he becomes determined to knock you out. He will. He's talented. But even with all that talent and determination, he couldn't quite take Campbell out. I think he dropped him in the 11th, but Campbell showed some resiliency. Against Ryan Garcia, man, when he got dropped, Garcia got up, applied the pressure. That was a lot for Campbell to deal with. And in the round after, he knocked him out. He pretty much took him out in 6 rounds. And half the time that Lomachenko, he tried, but he couldn't. That shows a lot, man.
Yeah. To reiterate a point I was making earlier, I was correct about where Progress fought in the amateurs. 69 kilograms, which is 152 point something pounds. So he fought in the same not era, but in the same weight class as Spence and Thurman in the amateurs. So he trained his way down to 140 pounds. He's a bigger guy than anybody in our. I don't want to say anybody in our conversation because I don't know where Josh Taylor fought in the amateurs, but Tank and Ryan did not fight at 152 pounds in the amateurs. So Progress is a bigger man by far.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a bigger man, and in that Tank fight, depending on how Tank fights, obviously, I mean, there might be moments where nothing really happens, but in that Prograis fight, I think it's gonna be. I mean, Ryan is gonna have to be aware the whole fight, meaning that he won't get a break in that fight, and he will be fighting a bigger guy. My turn.
When nothing's happening, something's still going to be happening.
Exactly, type of thing. Yeah, but in Tank Davis, the Davis fight, who knows, man? And Ryan, like Gonzalo said, Ryan has the size advantage. If he manages to use it correctly, he can control Tank for a little bit and get a breather in there and slow down the pace, have control over the fight. Again, depending on what Tank does, But anyways, let's check the phone lines. See if somebody's calling. Nope. Guys, phone lines are open if you want to jump in. I don't know where Jimmy is. Jimmy should have been here. We really need to ask him a question. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
Yeah, Ryan. Sorry, correction. Regis for Grace. I don't think he would like from the beginning go like full beast mode on Ryan because Ryan hit hard. So I think Regis would move his waist and box too. He wouldn't just try to go for the knockout. It would be a mistake for him. He would probably get clipped and hurt himself with Ryan Garcia's speed and power. So he would move the waist. And what I'm basically saying, I don't think that Regis will knock out Ryan in 1 or 2 rounds.
No.
Per se, but it's a good fight. But he would be moving at the waist from side to side, looking for the angles to hit Ryan Garcia to the body or set up that shot. And with that being said, it would be a back and forth fucking fight, and it certainly would be winnable. But like you said, he would have to be focused.
Exactly.
All the way through the fight because Regis would keep trying to look for that angle and move in the waist and ultimately try to land that big hook or something downstairs or up.
It's one of those opponents where like even if you throw a jab, you know you're gonna probably miss because the other guy's moving his head. He's giving you different angles. Tank is right there, and he likes being there because he's the one that's actually waiting for you to come in. So I think Ryan would have more control over Tank. An easier time, I would say. Well, anyways. All right. How long have we been on the air now? All right. Can still wait a little bit here. Well, I think we talked a lot about this fight. I mean, what else can we say? Guys in the chat, if you have anything you want us to talk about regarding this fight or any points you want to bring up, please do it in the chat. We'll gladly discuss this. Let's see.
Yeah, like if he concedes and says, okay, Tank, yeah. When it comes to the rematch, you can call the shots. He's going to look for another excuse. Just watch. Because when he says yes to that, that's going to seem suspicious to him. Once again, why did he say yes? Why did he say yes? They're plotting against me. Yeah, why are they so sure of themselves? I'm thinking that they're thinking.
Yeah, he could become paranoid and start imagining a bunch of
stuff. Yeah, he's paranoid. He's got the Napoleon complex too, right?
I guess so. He's what, 5? How tall is he? 5'4"? No?
He's like 5'2", like 5'3".
No, he's not 5'2".
I sure as fuck.
Priest Nassim was 5'3". I think he's 5'4".
Yeah,
the power's there.
Pitbull Cruz was definitely shorter than him.
Yeah, he was.
So Yorkis Gamboa probably wasn't that much taller. So it doesn't really come down to like, since he's the shorter guy, since he lacks the length, that's why he sits back and waits to get like the perfect shot when you come in. Yeah, that's part of it, but it's not even entirely that. It's that when you throw punches his way, because Yorkis Gamboa, older or not, he's like a volume puncher. He got them T-Rex arms. He keeps you busy. It took him a long time to knock that dude out. And with Pitbull Cruz, he's also a short guy. So and pinche, El Terremoto, Leo Santa Cruz. He's not a power puncher, but he was throwing punches down Tank's way. When you throw punches down Tank's way, whether you're short, tall, or fucking medium size, that dude, he's got that little like, if this were a video game, like Mike Tyson's Punch Out, he's got that little like glitch where you throw punches down his way, that's the time to get him. Or when you're throwing punches down his way, he can't react quite quick enough. You gotta have like a little lull in the action, like Hector Luis Garcia, where you're not doing anything for him to land that perfect shot. So when you throw down punches down fucking Tank Davis's way down his face, yeah, he's not gonna really react that quick. So that's the key right there. But at the same time, don't get too caught up in your success that you're having. You gotta step back at some point, because he will line you up.
And this goes back to some of that regression I was referring to, because when he was fighting Pedraza, he would use his reflexes and sometimes be out of position to hit back, but sometimes he would risk it and just take the punch to land another punch. Now he's not. Gonzalo, help me out. It's like a pull counter, right? Where you lean back away from the punch and then you counter over the top with your own. Am I on the right track?
For who?
No, I'm just saying that's kind of the move I'm talking about. If you're going to throw a right hand over my jab, I lean back and wait for you to go, and then I throw my counter right over yours. That's you see you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Basically, like you're kind of like, well, no, you're getting away from a punch, and at the same time you're countering without
Exactly.
you're incorporating two things into one where you're not. Yeah.
Right. And Tank used to do that with his reflexes. He's not doing it anymore. He's taking his turn now, and that's what Floyd did later in his career. The advantage Floyd had was he was better at countering and making his counter count, and then still holding and getting away. Tank staying and waiting for the receipt after he does his counter, which is causing him to get hit.
Yeah, I see that. He's not using offense and defense like it all together. He's just allowing the dude to punch, and okay, I'll read in between your punch, but sometimes that means that I get hit, so I can find that perfect window to counter you back. Whereas, like, when you're quick, like, I guess Mayweather, you know, and you're, like, situationally aware, okay, I'm going to wait for you to throw that right hand, but I'm already expecting it. So I'm going to pull away from it and throw a punch over that right or left hand, right, so to speak. But, you know, when you don't think you can land that by pulling away and countering over the top or whatnot, like with the straight shot right after you throw yours with, like, a pull counter, I'm too lazy to do that, for example, or I can't pull it off. I'm just going to try to do the one thing. When you throw, I'm most likely going to try to block or have it where you miss or you land on me, but then I might take that two to land mine. That's more like being economical in the sense, I guess, that, you know, I still know that I got the power and that I can lay you out, but I don't have the ability to pull something off like that, you know, where I'm defensively pulling back from your punch and throwing right after you. It takes a lot of skill. It's a shortcut, you know, that definitely make you look good and saves time and surprise your opponent, but it takes skill to do that. And I guess that's the whole point of like the Philly shell, right? The Philly shell is kind of like stave off your opponent's attack and make them pay when you make the mistake of taking the bait, right? He throws, I fucking block your punch, or roll it off my shoulder, or block it off with my elbow, or slide off my chin, and then when that punch slides off, my return is I'm gonna close the distance with the punch, right? Right after that sequence, that one punch. It's like when a fucking revolving door opens, you know, it closes to the other side, you know, it's like two things happen at one time. One guy can get in and one can get out, right? You see those round doors that turn?
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, you fucking throw your punch, I turn away and fucking spin into it. It takes skill. But he's a short dude.
All right, we're breaking this fight down. We'll have Jimmy. Finally, Jimmy, what's up?
What's up, brother?
Jimmy, welcome to the show. Here we're talking about. Well, we're still talking about Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. We started talking about the whole negotiations and the comments that have been made. Now because we talked about that for a while. We're trying to break this down. We're trying to break down this fight. But now you're here, we can go back again to this negotiation.
Well, how long have you guys been
on? Since almost 5:30.
Oh, okay. Wow. Jeez.
All right, Jimmy.
That. Oh, damn it. All right. Well, did you guys also discuss what it's pretty astonishing what Stephen Espinoza said?
No, go ahead.
About Tank Davis. Did you guys hear about that?
No, tell us, please.
Okay, well, he was on whether was it Blue Blood or was he? I know Blue Blood, I guess, had it on his program.
Jimmy, I have the audio.
Yes.
I have the audio ready right here.
Oh, it's unbelievable! He completely just. I mean, if I was Raphael today, I would be so fucking furious because he just made him look like such a donkey. Because not only did he admit that they've been lying about Tank's pay-per-view numbers, like we've been saying on this channel all along, but that Dan Raphael put out those numbers, like, because he said, not only did he say that Tank Davis versus Hector Garcia didn't sell even 200,000, never mind 225, but it was the second, biggest seller, or after only against the short bus kid. So that
Yeah,
means if it didn't even hit 2, and it's the second biggest, right, out of his mouth, that means the 225 versus fucking Barrios. Oh, fucking the 250 against Cruz, or 25 again, or was it 215, whatever, against Isaac Cruz. Lie. Now, this is not even up for discussion, of a debate. You should play that. Play that audio. Completely, like we've been saying on this channel all along, for I don't know how long, that the PBC has been lying about Tank Davis's numbers. He sells tickets. He does not sell pay-per-views. And that's the reason why they're desperate for the Garcia fight. But that's probably not going to fucking happen, that fight, because Garcia's, from what Steve Kim's saying, that he's really putting Austin's going to put his foot down with this, because the fact that they want full control. Remember, they didn't open up their books to show anything either, but they want full control of this one. Garcia can't have a pay-per-view. He can't ask for a rematch. Let's line up what was said. So going into the negotiations, you can't ask for a negotiation, but Davis can. A rematch clause.
Mm-hmm.
So if Davis loses, he can, you know what I mean? But Garcia can't. And on top of that, if Garcia...
Oh, you will lose Jimmy here.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be back.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Jimmy, we lost you, man. I don't know if you should drop off and drop back on. In the meantime, let me read a super chat here. Super chat. Rapax Trucking Company. He says the fight should be shown on the Zone and Showtime. Tank fans buy it on Showtime, and Garcia fans buy it on the Zone. Garcia Tank is a pipe dream. It probably is a pipe dream, but that's a good idea, Rapax. But I don't know if they would allow that to happen. But all right, let's hope Jimmy's back. Pipe dream.
I got a quick question.
Yes.
If they're lying about Tank's numbers on pay-per-view, who else's pay-per-view numbers have they been lying about on the PBC?
Spence.
That was actually the first step in geometry. It was a given. Everyone knew what I was getting at, but
yeah.
Thanks for that.
Wilder, a lot of people have always claimed that the Wilder numbers were a bit exaggerated, right? When he fought Ortiz.
Mm-hmm.
What were the numbers? I forgot, but it was, especially for the rematch, like nobody was asking for a rematch. And yeah, apparently did okay numbers. I doubt that.
It did okay reported numbers. We have no idea. Al's been doing this since Floyd fought. What was his name?
Berto.
No, before him. It was his first fight with Showtime. I forget the guy's name.
The guy that went to prison, Baldomir?
Guerrero. Ever since
Ghost Guerrero.
They said that it was. I still remember because they were questioning Big Nose about the numbers. And he would say, I know exactly what the numbers are. They're in my briefcase. Well, you say, well, you don't get to tell me what my job is. I don't have to show them to you. He did everything except for answer what the pay-per-view numbers were. So to this day, the official numbers of that fight, even though it says
800,000.
Yeah, some of the other writers said they heard around 850,000. But the official numbers online, because this is what Showtime's done release them, but because Mayweather claimed there were 1 million, and that's the only source we have, everyone thinks there are millions. So PBC has been doing this ever since like 2007.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting because I remember that fight, Chief. Now that you mentioned it, I watched it in the theater, and that hadn't happened in a long time. I think they showed fights in the theater before, but that was like the first in a long time, I believe. Yeah, that did play it in the movies.
Yeah, I invited a bunch of friends to a sports bar. Big mistake, because they were like fucking bored, man. Like, yeah, it was crappy fight. I think
I wasn't going to pay for that one. I knew that Guerrero, like Santa Cruz, wasn't a big puncher at bantamweight and featherweight. What was he going to do against Floyd? Because even if he busted up Berto's face, I get that. What's he going to do against a guy who's not going to be there to be busted up? He was at his best weights. he was average with foot and hand speed. And he was below average in power, and he had no head movement anywhere. Oh, who was that?
He started winning the first rounds, I think, and then Mayweather figured him out. Like right around the 5th round, and then from there on, it was like easy.
Where are we talking about?
He was having success. He was having some success in the beginning.
He was a southpaw.
In the chat said Oscar made Floyd. That's 150%.
Absolutely, man. All right, we're getting okay. Jimmy, are you back? Because I'm gonna play this clip.
Yes.
Let's play this clip. This is actually from Barbershop, who's actually showing us a video from Blue Blood, and Blue Blood's showing us a video where Steven Espinosa is speaking. All right, let's play it.
Pay-per-views and debunking the 61,000. Look how much he did. Look what he admits to.
You know, I said what I said on social media. There's this stupid number of 61 that was going around. You know, that's basically the cable number by itself. So the total number is, and if you know anything, cable is a fraction, not even close to 50%. You can do the math, and you know we're not at 200, but this would be his second biggest behind Rolly, which was his biggest. Okay. What's good, you?
Appreciate you.
All right, I don't know if you guys could hear it. Probably not. But anyways,
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, shit. Fuck. Anyways, it's just Blue Blood. What you said, Jimmy, basically. Spinoza said that the Rolly Romero fight was the biggest, most successful fight, I believe, from Tank, right? I think that's what he said. And then the Garcia numbers were like the second best. So what does that mean for the Isaac Cruz fight? How many numbers did that generate then? Because apparently the Rolly Romero fight generated like 200,000 pay-per-view buys, I believe, no?
I can well, this is what Dan Raphael reported. This is the numbers when he tagged in Steven Espinosa. He said, for those who keep asking about Giovante's pay-per-view numbers, Rolly Romero will be about 200. And this about thing is just ridiculous. You know, we'll finish up as when they already know what it is. At 275K, which is fucking horseshit. But Santa Cruz between 200 and 225, Barrios 210 and 215, Pitbull Cruz a touch over 200K. Okay, then he comes out and says, Hector Garcia didn't even hit 200,000, but yet it's the second biggest fight, only behind Romero. So that means the rest of it's all bullshit. And if they're lying about that, those numbers, like, so yeah, I believe maybe fucking Romero, the short bus dude, did about 200, probably 210, and the rest of them, but I bet my fucking life that thing did 61 or 67,000, like fucking Rick Lacia reported. You know what's funny too? Because Rick Lacia was the first to report Wilder Hellenius numbers. It was then verified by the fucking shills on PBC, and he was also the first one to do that I know off the top of my head, the Thurman Barrios numbers too. And it was then again verified when they, the shills had out their numbers. So it's only when the numbers, the Spence and the Davis fans don't like to hear the fucking truth that the numbers aren't good. So.
Yeah, like people are saying exactly. I mean, even if, let's say Rolly generated 275,000. First of all, it's difficult to believe that Garcia fight that we just saw a few months ago. Well, I don't even know. When was that fight? Last month? I forgot.
I think so.
Oh my God. Anyways, that fight was generated more views than the Isaac Cruz fight? Is that even possible?
Well, I could believe that because remember, Isaac Cruz got his popularity, Bucho, off the Davis fight. Because prior to that, nobody knew who he was. I believe he fought on Showtime, the one they have on Friday night, the smaller shows with Barry Tompkins or whatever his name is. So yeah, he was a virtual. Remember, he was supposed to fight Rolly Romero, but virtue signaling Espinosa pulled out Romero because of one girl's accusations, unsubstantiated accusations that were found later to be false. So remember, he pulled him off the show literally 2 weeks before the fight happened, and he put in an unknown fucking I mean, literally an unknown. So he was a last-minute replacement, an unknown last-minute replacement on a Sunday night pay-per-view up against fucking, pro sports. So, I mean, come on. The fucking thing didn't sell. It did sell. It sold, I mean, what did they say? 61. And this last one against Garcia did 67, according to Rick Glacier. And I believe
and
him
you know what?
100%.
Jimmy, and I think that's good marketing because the reason probably this one sold, if it did sell like a little more, the reason is because the last name Garcia. That's good strategy. You fight a Garcia now, and you're supposed to fight the Ryan Garcia later. People they hear the name Garcia, and it's like they were cloud chasing, and it was gonna have some success because it just rings a bell. Garcia, Hector, or Ryan.
Cloud chasing, that's another thing they do. I mean, just for a quick side note, David Benavidez, the shit he just pulled. He's about to go into a fight against Plant 3 years past its due date when they were both champions. Benavidez didn't want nothing to do with it. Well, not so much Benavidez, I guess, but his manager, Sam Lukowitz, said it was $7 to $10 million fight, so we'd let him marinate. So now you're fighting, Canelo's leftovers. But then he goes out and says, because, again, another PBC fighter talking fucking sparring war stories. You know what I mean? Like this latest thing lately, well, I did him in sparring. I know I sparred him, and I was in there, and not only could I beat him, I could knock him out. So you got a kid who's not fought fucking anybody with the pulse, saying he's going to go, he could knock out Bivol. It's like, man, he really fucking fit in a role perfectly.
Jimmy, but I still think that fight, the timing is good for that one. It's not fucking like superly overly marinated. It's a good timing for Plant Benavidez. Benavidez
my
is
point
kind of
is, it's not going to make the same, but it won't make the same money as it would have back when they were both world champions and both undefeated. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. You know that. Like, Plant, some of his shine's gone. He got stopped by Canelo. You know what I mean? I'm not one of, I'm not a guy. I don't give a fuck if a dude loses a fight. I don't think it's having a zero as an end all. But I'm talking about people's perception. And it's like, no one was asking for this fight. And if you're sitting there saying, oh, I could then go up 175 right now and go knock him out, dude. Get a lot of fucking, you talk a lot, dude. The kid talks a lot. It's all I've ever fucking seen. And the fact that he re-signed, he had another opportunity to flee to Top Rank, or flee to the zone, Golden Boy, and he chose to re-sign with the guy who had him fight once last year against the guy who was a 17-1 odds favorite. And then you get to turn around and say you're going to knock out Bivol. Dude, just shut your mouth, man.
Yeah, that talks a lot too. And people started seeing that. It's like there's a difference between being confident and calling everybody out and being like the perceived boogeyman. So like, I don't know, boxing fans are smart. Like, dude, this fucking guy talks a lot. Yeah, he can show that he's confident. He's calling everybody out, but at the same time, that could be his undoing right there. When you talk so much shit, then fucking all of a sudden, like, let's say he loses. Oh man.
I mean, if you walk it once in a while, but if all you do is talk it, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's been years of fucking hearing about how much of a boogeyman and a killer this dude is. I mean, if you really believe that, go out and fight these dudes. Because you can say all these things, man, he's a pussy. He don't want nothing to do with me, blah, blah, blah. But then you come to find out that Plant was offered to you. Plant literally was calling you out back in 2019 or 2020. No, 2019, saying he wanted the fucking Benavidez fight. And your team turned it down? Wait a minute. Like, seriously, dude? Fuck you doing turning down fights because you're with Sam Bennett, so you say, well, then I always gave him a benefit of the doubt. I'm like, you know what? I can't blame the kid because he tried to leave. He knew it was a bogus situation over there on PBC Island. He tried to flee. And because he was with Lukowitz says, yeah, you might not be under the PBC thing, but you're still with me, and I'm not going to have you fighting on ESPN. I'm only dealing with Showtime. So there's another promoter, he is his promoter, put network affiliation ahead of his fighter's best interest. And that's been the ongoing thing over at the fucking PBC. Yep. To the tune of tens of millions of dollars fighters have left on the table or walked away. The Stephen Fulton thing, it's just, they don't have nobody for him to fight. No one in nothing. They could never make the money. And so that's why, that's when I realized too that Showtime is in real trouble. If they're going to start letting fights like that go off Showtime, that's why I think they want this Garcia fight, but yet there's no dates. Showtime hasn't put any kind of a schedule out.
They usually don't until March, though. If you remember correctly, every March they release everything that's supposed to start from the end of May all the way until like September, and then we get a few drops that happen later.
They announced 5 fights. I'm sorry, but they did announce 5 fights, right? But they're all pay-per-views, brother, right? Wilder Ruiz, Plant Benavidez, Cruz, that was a done deal. Remember, fucking Davis versus Garcia, done deal. He tweeted out, remember, done deal. That's what Steven Espinoza. And I said, I'm like, what? And he said, it's just a little, a couple of minor things. I'm like, dude, the devil's in the details. There's no small minor thing when it comes to a boxing contract. That shit holds stuff up. So until somebody says, yep, the contracts have been sent out, signed, and returned. You know what I mean? To me, the fight isn't done until that's done and they announce a date.
Yep.
So, but all these fights, it's almost 5 or 6 fights in a row, all on pay-per-view. Why is that? Because Showtime doesn't have a budget. They're not going to have a budget this year. And if they do have it, they're going to be selective as fuck of what they're going to spend it on.
I wonder how many. I want to know how many pay-per-views they're going to give us when they release the schedule. Hey, by the way, guys, let's take a phone call, all right? This guy's been waiting, but 323 on the air. 323. Yes.
What's going on, Bucho? What's going on, guys? This is Don Madrazos. I see the writing on the wall with the guys at PBC pulling all these weird moves, but you have to wonder, as a promoter, you want to make your fighter look good. You want to be strategic about this whole thing, and you want to make your side look great, but you got to wonder, what's going on? Why didn't they think these through? This is not making their fighter. I mean, Gervonta Davis isn't the one. He was the one saying that, accusing Ryan of being on roids, sure, but this is kind of doubling down on making them look bad, as a fighter. Just the negotiations, the excuses, and you got to wonder what the motivation is. Besides, you got to wonder, if you're Tank Davis, man, these guys are making me look like shit. And it's very clear to me that their motivation isn't me. The motivation is just money. And I'm the only one that's bringing it to them at this time. Where does he go from here? Do you think he'll wise up? Is there anyone advising him other than someone on PBC that maybe
just Haymon.
He should jump ship?
No, it's just Haymon, his advisor, and I guess he's locked under contract for a while. But honestly, I'll tell you what it is, Carl. What I think happened was Davis has been legitimately upset about his numbers, because he knows the true numbers, because he hasn't got any back-end money, because he's got to sell at least 500,000 pay-per-views for the majority of his back-end money gets kicked in. So he hasn't seen a dime of that, and I think he's been pissed. And he sees all the hatred he gets on Twitter, you know what I mean, about the people he fights. So I think he demanded that Garcia fight. I really believe Davis wants to fight the kid because he knows that will legitimately sell, and he wants to make some fucking money. But I don't think Haymon really wants to make it. So what Haymon's going to do is do this bullshit of putting some stupid stipulation in the contract offer that Golden Boy's going to. I mean, if Oscar has a shred of self-respect, he's going to tell him to go fuck himself, and then that way Haymon can look at Davis and say, "Hey, we tried, bro. We tried."
Yeah, but I mean, if this is your only marquee fighter, supposedly, I mean, and that's all they got. It's not big, but it's what they have. Wouldn't it be beneficial to make them look better than what they're making them out to look? They're making them out to look really weak, and it's just they're already screwing the kid over, and I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I think it's just very strange. I mean, and this is just, I'm making this comment, and thank you, Jimmy, for commenting on it, but we're having this conversation as sensible people. This message isn't going to get across to the idiots that can't see past their own nose, and the people that don't do. I mean, it takes a tremendous amount of research and a lot of tenacity to look through Twitter feeds and people's comments from the fighters themselves online. There's a lot more going on to this, and this is why I'm questioning why they're doing this to this kid. They're not making him look good, and this is their only draw, supposedly. Not a lot, but this is their only draw.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to ruin his career, man.
Think about it, bro. What would have been the biggest PBC fight in history? It would have been Crawford, Spence. By far, that would have been the biggest in-house two PBC fighters facing each other since that conception in 2015, and he couldn't get that across the line.
Right.
Instead, we're getting Thurman, a semi-retired, completely irrelevant fighter.
Right, and with Crawford being a free agent, wanting a promoter, they didn't sign him to a multi-fight contract, and they couldn't get the fight made.
Excellent.
And the onus was completely on Haymon because there's no more excuse. Spence needs it. Crawford needs a title. Crawford gets a title, and then so Spence chooses to fight somebody else. He needs to come across the street. Crawford crosses the street. Spence chooses to fight somebody else. Then Spence actually petitioned the WBA to get Ugas out of his Stanionis fight. He's petitioning belts to get guys so he doesn't have to fight Crawford. At every turn, Spence has chosen to fight somebody else. And I don't think it's so much in him choosing as Haymon, because he said back in 2019, this is the fights that Haymon said I'm supposed to have, and to a man, that's who he's been fighting. So, yeah, he couldn't get it across. It was up to him, and he couldn't do it.
Well, what's throwing me right now is that I'm not, hugely familiar with. I know Al Haymon's a promoter. I know that he's been with Showtime and had some dealings with Fox. But what I'm not really sure about is he an actual boxing guy, or is he
music industry? He promoted music bands from 1984 until 2003, I believe.
So he's not a real boxing guy. He's not like a De La Hoya or an Eddie Hearn or anything like that.
Nope.
The first fight he promoted was Vernon Forrest versus Shane Mosley, and Vernon Forrest won. That was his guy.
Yeah,
and he even stole Vernon Forrest against somebody who was with him his whole life. He was even shady in his dealings there.
How did this guy manage to get all these fighters on his on his roster?
That's a good question.
He took him off from our Golden Boy.
Yeah.
Well, right, but he was associated with them prior to that.
He was working for Golden Boy after he drove HBO Boxing. He was at HBO Boxing for 3.5 years. He's the one who started the tribalistic bullshit between Showtime and HBO. There was never a thing like that before. They would always fight each other's fighters, or the guys would run Showtime. He's the one who pushed that. He drove HBO's numbers down because he was in charge of the boxing there to such a degree that HBO got rid of boxing the same way Showtime's about to get rid of fucking boxing. So he drove HBO in the ground, and then he went over to Golden Boy. And when Oscar went into rehab, under the suggestion, from what I heard, was Haymon and the kid, the banker from Sweden, Richard Schaefer, sat him down and said, "Dude, you're a mess. You got to get into fucking rehab. You're a mess." He went into rehab, and while he was in rehab, he submarined him and took every one of his fighters except for Canelo.
Right, bought all their contracts. He probably couldn't afford. He probably couldn't afford.
The guy that left Golden Boy essentially and took the fighters with him.
What's that?
He bought up their contracts, but I don't think he could afford Canelo.
Oh yeah, Schaefer. Yeah, but Schaefer, wasn't he working with Al Haymon?
Schaefer was the guy that left and took the fighters with him.
Yeah.
That's what was the deal. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Schaefer was at Golden Boy with Haymon.
10 seconds.
I wasn't really paying too much attention to a lot of the promotional stuff until a couple of years ago when I ran into a really awful a YouTube channel called Ego or Ego Boxing.
Homo Ego.
And the guy just sounds like sounds like a fucking moron. And, I couldn't. It just it seemed like he was obsessed with Al Haymon and the PBC. And then I started looking into it a little bit more. And then I started paying attention to the promotional companies a little bit more, which I'm a boxing fan. I don't I want to see fights. I don't care about promotional companies. But people I noticed online are really into these fucking promotional companies, especially the PBC, and they're talking shit about everybody. I just don't like what's the point?
It's a racial thing.
We want to see. We don't want to see. I don't care about the but at the same time, it looks like this promotional company is really fucking some guys over here. And, it's a fucking nightmare. Like this is just something that makes me not want to watch the sport sometimes because we had an exciting weekend with the women's boxing. I thought Erica Cruz was amazing and fought her heart out. When are we going to get those fights with the guys more often? More evenly matched fights is what we want to see.
That's sad.
Not getting that.
Extremely sad. But anyway, caller, we gotta move on. Thanks for the call. All right, call back again.
Hey, thank you guys. Have a good one. Bye bye.
You too, man. Take care.
Excellent call. Excellent call.
Yeah, I didn't watch this female boxing fight, but everybody's talking about it, so maybe I should have.
A lot of times the women will fight their heart outs because they can't really punch that hard, so it's easier for them to exchange punches. But with like guys, you got to be more like a little fearful, man, and that a lot of people don't want to risk that. You get caught with the wrong punch, it's more dangerous.
And plus, Gonzalo, 2-minute rounds, dude, you fought, dude. That's a huge difference between 2 and 3 minute rounds, right? That last minute is all the difference in the world. So you can go out to gangbusters for 120 seconds opposed to fucking 180.
Oh yeah, and bigger gloves too.
Yep.
Yeah. And this through the TV, it's a little deceiving, man. Yeah, they go to town on each other. It looks like it's a fucking badass fight. But really, who wants to see that type of fight? When you see it in guys, when you see it in men, it's boring. Because you can tell that the guy's got no power, and that's why they're fucking exchanging like that. And they're not really like landing shots like Castillo Corrales, where you can tell they're hard shots. Because a lot of times you can land hard shots against another dude, and you can tell that they're hard and they actually have good chins or have good punch resistance. But when you're patting back and forth, is that really entertaining?
And there's a
and you're
couple
not
like
hurting each other.
Amanda Serrano, she can crack. That fight she fought with the British girl, she lost at a decision. It was in Madison Square Garden. It sold the place out. It was an exciting fight. That did wonders for women's boxing. But the problem is, most women aren't at that level of a Serrano and Taylor.
No. There's like a few that are high quality. The rest, it's not.
Yeah, you could tell that she was actually snapping the other chick's head back. I saw that.
That's rare. That's like Bucho said, far and few between. Most of the time, you don't get that.
Yeah. Phone lines are closed, people. Phone lines are closed. And before we go, there was a fight this weekend. I believe it's Ray Vargas fighting Ushaki Foster from the U.S. I don't know. You guys want to say anything about this fight?
Yeah, I think it's trash. I mean, Vargas, I'm not sold on that dude 100%. He's tough. But
no power.
I think against the cream of the crop, I don't think he does. He wins.
I wish Ray Vargas had more power. Kind of frustrating sometimes watching this guy.
Yeah, kind of frustrating. Yeah, he gets kind of tired down the stretch. And I think he's moving up in division, so he might lose a little bit of the advantages that he had in height and length. And I think he left Nacho Erinstein as well. So I think he was trying to become a diva. But I don't know what happened. Maybe it's like a money thing.
Like a recipe for a loss, in my opinion.
My thing, Bucho, is this. Steve Kim did his article as Canine in the Snack. And you always, previews that weekend's upcoming fights.
Yeah.
This week's article he didn't even talk about that fight with Vargas.
Yeah.
Instead, he did a tribute to Oscar De La Hoya. He wrote a nice thing about him, and his 50th, turning 50 years old and shit. Because I know the coke and the fucking the stalkings and shit, the pictures of him out there. But to the guys listening who weren't around or who weren't following the sport, who might have a wrong interpretation of Oscar, he was a bad motherfucker. Oscar was a tough dude. He went on great fights, and he fought everybody.
Well, I'm gonna post that link of the article on the community section. About De La Hoya, I think a lot of people that are younger, they probably only saw the last part of De La Hoya's career, that loss against Mayweather and that stoppage loss against Manny Pacquiao, and they have a bad impression of De La Hoya. But if you look at De La Hoya in his prime, this guy was insane.
But I think they get the impression of him from the second Mosley fight on. because that's when he was hitting the downside, even if he thought he won the Mosley fight. Going into the Floyd Mayweather fight, I think he was like 2-2 in his last 4 fights, and that's just to sign the fact that he had a long amateur career, long pro career. Other things were distracting him, and he was getting older. It was taking a toll on his body. When he was at his peak, in the fight that he lost on paper against Felix Trinidad, any other night, if anybody would have tried to fight him outside of a Ray Leonard or Tommy Hearns, but if Pernell Whitaker or Floyd Mayweather or even Manny would have tried to fight him moving around the ring, throwing those combinations like that, I don't think any of them would have got to him that night.
No, that's what I was saying. That De La Hoya that fought Trinidad, I think was the best De La Hoya I've ever seen. One of the best. Even though he lost that fight, in the first part of the fight, he looked amazing. Even he made Trinidad look terrible. He's just coming in, throwing combinations, left hook, boom, stepping back, and Trinidad wasn't able to do jack shit. But yeah, that De La Hoya in that Trinidad fight, man, amazing, crazy. And a lot of his losses were controversial. Well, not let's see. The first Trinidad fight was controversial. The loss against Mosley wasn't. The second one was.
Well, yeah, he was on roids, no, so maybe that made it a little controversial.
Yeah, Mosley had he took some. Yeah, he injected something into his stomach or something like that. He's like, oh, I think this is normal. Anyways.
Yeah, the Felix Sturm, I think he should have lost, but he moved up to middleweight. Ike Forte, he won because he dropped that dude twice and won like the latter rounds.
Yeah,
and wasn't there a fight that he took off the last couple of rounds? He didn't engage. He ended up losing the fight. Was
Trinidad.
that against?
That was Trinidad.
The fight of the millennium.
He had 45 fights and 6 losses, I believe. 45 fights.
Yeah,
with
the Hopkins. He wasn't De La Hoya wasn't a middleweight. That's the thing, though. So I'm like, okay, whatever. He lost to Felix Stern, even though he really didn't lose. They gave him the fight.
But my favorite win, and everybody on this panel knows what it was that shit-talking guy from the other side of town, Fernando Vargas, talking about how he was going to punish De La Hoya, and Oscar just made him eat all his words and totally humiliate. Given Trinidad did it first, but that was a grudge match, and that was the fight that Vargas always wanted, lived, breathed, and everything in that fight, and even steroided himself up and still lost.
And Vargas was he was on the PEDs for that fight.
Yeah, apparently they were running when they were teenagers. They were running, and he fell into a hole. Then then Fernando Vargas, he stretched out his arm. Hey, De La Hoya, help me! And De La Hoya just laughed and went by. That was the start of the bad luck.
Do you believe that story though? I never believed it. It sounds too dramatic, man.
I think so because De La Hoya was like the pretty boy, like the one that was more accepted by the people.
Yeah,
and Vargas was more like the cholo.
And given this is only my word, but when remember the '96 team trained in my gym in my hometown. When I asked him about Oscar, he said Oscar and I are friends. It wasn't until he started to get the press and everyone started coming in and getting the interviews that they started going, "I hate Oscar. I want to fight Oscar." He didn't tell me he hated Oscar when I asked him how they were kind of close. That image changed like the closer they got to going to the Olympics.
Yeah. Bouncebox 7 in the chat says Oscar said that story is bullshit. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. But anyways, going back to De La Hoya, yeah, like Jimmy said, if you were too young to have seen De La Hoya fight in his prime, there's always YouTube. Go watch his fights. And he was a tall welterweight. We haven't really had tall welterweights lately. I mean, Spence, I guess he's kind of tall for a welterweight. Other than that,
he's shorter than Oscar, though.
He's short, exactly. Shorter than Trinidad.
Oscar's a solid 5'10", right?
5'10" and a half.
He and Trinidad, and I think lighter weight, and I think the bone density was a little bit thicker on Trinidad because he looked skinnier. But they were the same height, the same reach. When they even did measurements of like the chest expanded and bicep, they were the same size.
And by the way, De La Hoya for Trinidad is probably considered the second best Puerto Rican boxer of all time, I believe. So let that sink in there. Watch that fight and think about that. Trinidad, second best Puerto Rican boxer of all time.
Well, think about this for Trinidad. Second longest reigning welterweight champion of all time with 15 title defenses, second only to Henry Armstrong. And he was a unified champion.
I forgot about that too. Yeah, of course. He was the IBF welterweight champion for a while then. No, great fighter, man. Hall of Famer. 2 Hall of Famers.
Yeah, better than Cotto, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
What's funny too with Oscar though, man, that side note was how it was a full-time job to keep his name clean because he was signed by Hertz rental car. He had a suitcase deal, Coca-Cola. I mean, he was about as mainstream a fighter, the last big mainstream fighter,
Gillette,
the golden boy, right, coming out of the Olympics. But he was fucking getting, I mean, how many teenage girls did he have knocked up at one time? Wasn't it like at least 2, but maybe 3, like under 18 he had knocked up when he was in his mid-20s. So he was sucking, they were paying a lot of women to keep their mouth shut because he would have lost those deals.
Yeah, I remember he was on a bunch of commercials. Yeah. Yep. Great, good old days
he
of
was
boxing.
He was more popular than any fighter today. He was more popular than Mayweather.
Jimmy, go ahead.
Floyd Mayweather piggybacked off his fame.
Yeah, Floyd Mayweather never had endorsements like that. He made more money one year in endorsements than he did in the ring. Like they were paying him, like Coke was paying him millions of dollars. I believe Nike. He had endorsements from everybody.
Jimmy,
he was doing appearances everywhere.
He was one of those boxers that had transcended the sport. So even non-boxing fans knew who he was.
Exactly.
And Floyd and Manny needed that to do the same thing. They would have never reached that level if it weren't for Oscar De La Hoya.
Ah, yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Without a doubt.
At this end for Floyd, he fought nothing but Golden Boy fighters for the rest of his career. So, Floyd should be sending Oscar a Christmas card for the rest of his life because he made a living off of everything Oscar had built. I'm not a huge Oscar fan, but every fighter after, with the exception of Manny Pacquiao, and if you want to see Berto and McGregor, but if you're talking about the fights he actually fought, the opponents, every one of them were a Golden Boy fighter, from Oscar De La Hoya all the way up until he fought Manny Pacquiao, So he and who was the A-side promotion? Even if Floyd was quote unquote the A-side promoter, who do you think was putting the capital up? Because Floyd didn't have it.
No, he was Golden
Boy. Not his promotional company. He may have had money, his own, but his promotional company didn't have capital to put anything up. The network subsidized most of it, and De La Hoya did the rest.
Yeah, that's true. People should accept that.
Hey, Bucci, you want to hear something funny too, man? I don't know if you had seen this. It just goes to show you the level of delusion over there. But somebody sent me a video of Dante's Boxing Nation there, and he did a video about Fulton. First off, the LDBC never gave a shit about anyway. Never popularized him, or never gave that kid any shine. So his recent video, once it's the talk was out that Fulton demanded that fight and it's going to happen, he's going to go to Japan. All of a sudden, there he is, willing to fight, a black American champion, which is part of the course. But this is what he said: a fight that even took in the old media by surprise. Nobody saw him do this. Like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Over a year ago, Inoue himself tweeted out, at the end of this year, win, lose, or draw, whether I'm undisputed or not, I'm leaving this weight and going to 122, and I want to fight Fulton. That was a full year before he did it. So it's like, dude, so it goes to show you don't follow this dude's career. You knew nothing of Inoue, or you knew of him, but you didn't follow it or read any of the press. So when him make these videos, and it's just like, man, and it's always based around race. Of course, he's talking about racists. Of course, the racists in my chat think that Inoue, we're picking Inoue, even though they think Fulton will win. It's just like, really, what's the metrics for that? And then, of course, it's he's actually willing to fight a great American black champion, and historically, these fighters have been avoided. Like, what the fuck planet are you from, dude? Black champions have been avoided in boxing? It's just so farcical. Dude, name one. You can't, because it's a lie. But it's just like, guess what his people want to hear? They just want to hear these same race-based fucking lies. It's insane.
Well, they're the they're the same people that think that Floyd was the boogeyman when he was at 130, that nobody wanted to fight him when there was nobody there. The only that so yeah, Casamay and Freitas. Okay, I'll take that. Except for the fact that it would need to be a cross-network promotion, and Floyd hadn't even sold a pay-per-view fight yet. So why are either network going to risk crossing the aisle to make something from a bunch of guys that can barely sell out stadiums, let alone couldn't even sell pay-per-view yet?
The five most boxes too are all black, right? The five most highest paid boxes are all black. Blacks dominated the sport in the 70s and the 80s. There was nobody avoiding black fighters because they're pretty much the only ones who were competing.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, stop the lying, dude. Just stop the fucking victimization.
Well, here comes the Fulton train. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
Yeah, and the Japanese fighter, like Inoue, he fights in Japan because that's where he sells. He's got a bunch of he's got a big following, and when it's nighttime over there in Japan, it's daytime in the United States or in North America. So the North Americans are not the ones that are gonna buy Inoue's fights, particularly the Black Americans. They're not gonna buy Inoue fights if he fights a black guy in the United States. And if they do, the fight's got to happen in the daytime. That's why sometimes Inoue or like big fighters from Asia, when they fight, it's like on a Tuesday morning. Like when Inoue fought fucking the other guy, Donaire. So it's one of those things, Why fight in the United States at 5 p.m. in the afternoon against a guy from the United States when all the Japanese are going to be sleeping or they're fucking working like the next day.
Gonzalo, to your point, right? Think about this: the Hector Garcia, Gervonta Davis replay a week after the pay-per-view, it pulled a 0.02 on the Nielsen ratings, which is about 120,000 people, right, on the replay. Anyways, last time he fought out of Japan against it was the fight against he stopped Jamie McDonald. That fight on the replay, brother, did a share of 10% of Japan, the whole country. No, it was crazy. But yeah, one region had 10 million fucking people watched it. So of course, Tokyo, this fight's gonna be huge, brother. Just to your point.
Yeah, that's right. Even if they're paying $1 or not paying at all, just advertisement and the revenue that it generates. That's a lot of people. 10% of a country.
Just to add
it
in
was
what
crazy.
You're saying there, Jimmy. Just to add in what you're saying there,
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Chief. Is it just me? It seems like he's not as loud anymore.
Yeah, we're losing you.
I'm in my car. Is it better? Can you hear me now?
Oh, no, much worse.
Hold on.
All right. I think we lost you.
What about now?
Oh, much better.
Okay. So I turned the car off for a second, waiting for my daughter. Anyway, to add in what you were saying there, Jimmy, about Inoue and his plans and everything, he said once the Butler fight was actually signed, in addition to I'm leaving this division win, lose, or draw, he said, when I win this title, because he was confident he was going to, I'm going to petition the WBO to become the mandatory contender for Fulton's belt. So for them to try and make it sound like this was never an intention and Fulton's the lucky one, well, they're right in that sense. But the fact that Inoue hasn't been saying that this was his next goal for over a year and that it wasn't just him or MJ, it was Fulton. He could fight MJ also. That'd be an easier fight to make because Matchroom will make a fight with anybody. But he wanted Fulton.
Yep. Exactly. Right on the money.
And when Fulton stepped into that arena, I'm not going to say that Fulton is not a cool cat that can't overcome adversity because I don't know yet. But to think that is going to be anything other than an overwhelming situation when he walks into Japan and he's in that arena and that little guy, because he's not a big guy, against all of that energy that's not going to be wanting any part of him. If he can overcome that and he can win, congratulations, you're definitely flying up my pound for pound list. But otherwise,
absolutely.
I have a strange feeling he's not Bivol. I have a strange feeling he's not Lomachenko. And I don't mean by skill. I just mean by mental ability of not letting the environment get to him. Those Eastern European fighters tend to it doesn't phase them. The Klitschko's
they're road warriors. They're always fighting on the road. They're used to it. And the Olympics and just the bright lights, they're already used to it by the time they get into the pros. Yeah, listen, this is going to be huge. Tokyo, like he's never, I mean, what his last fight that he headlined, I got 200,000 views. Well, like it peaked at like 220,000 on Showtime.
And it
had
didn't
like
sell out.
1,800 people. Yeah, it wasn't a lot of people in but he's a great fighter, don't get me wrong, and he's one of the most talented fighters the PBC has. But he's never have seen, like, he's gonna, how can it not? He's gonna be there. He's gonna have like cameras, like snap, 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 taking pictures of him and shit. He's not gonna. There's nothing like that here. And then he's gonna be in a crowd, like you said. It's like everybody's Japanese and just cheering every time Inoue throws a fucking. They're not like us. They don't go crazy, but when they do yell, they do yell. But yeah, that's gonna be a big ask. But he's gonna make, I would assume, probably $5 million up front, guaranteed, and then some backdoor money, just because fighting. Yep, his last pay, he's never even made $1 million. I don't think yet with the PBC.
That's a big difference, especially for like a lower weight fighter, man. That's a fight he has to take. And yeah, Inouye's a superstar, dude. And yeah, Fulton is good. The last 3 fights I rewatched, Inoue has won, but he's also got pieced up. And the inside, he tends to drop his hands a lot. And we know that Inoue got that paralyzing power. He got that one-hitter quitter, man. And fucking Cool Boy, he says he's gonna outclass Inoue, man. Like I said, he gets hit. He gets hit too. He's won the fights like 4-8, pretty widely, but he's lost some rounds in there too where he gets hit. And we know that Inoue got the power.
Crazy power. Like you said, there's people who have power, but like you said, he has one hit a quitter. He has that walk-away power. Like you punch the dude and you turn your back, you walk away before you even do it hits the ground, 'cause you know he's not getting up. And he does it with both hands, and he's always in position to hit. And yes, Fulton is a very talented kid, and it's going to be a great fight. But I'll tell you right now, he's never fought anyone anywhere near the likes of Inoue. So for fucking Dante to say that most people, people who know boxing are going with Fulton on this. Really? is that your position you're going to take? How shocking is that? That's your position, first off.
Jimmy,
that's not the truth at all.
Jimmy, what's the point of even lying like that? Like, what do you get out of it? Wouldn't it be better to say he's the underdog, but that way if he wins, it's a big win, instead of coming out and lying to the people and saying like he's the favorite?
Because his insecurity is so crippling. It's so fucking crippling that he can't come out and say that. He can't make himself or another black man subservient to an Asian fighter. He's not going to say he's the underdog, because they live vicariously through these guys because they share their ethnicity. I mean, that's the whole reason why these people got behind Haymon. I mean, what other reason would you get behind Haymon? What has he accomplished in the sport? If you're a boxing guy, why would you follow someone who's never accomplished dick? He took a fighter that was with first fucking Top Rank and then Golden Boy in Floyd Mayweather, right? First, he was on HBO, I believe, a minimum of 23 times through Top Rank, and then he fought Oscar, got over 1 million pay-per-views, and then that's when he became his lawyer. But that's it. He's never duplicated it. He's had we're going on almost 20 years, 14 years right now, or 15 years, and he has yet to even come close. In fact, the numbers are going down for his fighters. Spencer's pay-per-view numbers have steadily dropped. He's been your biggest fighter who's not a heavyweight, and his numbers have gone the wrong direction. There's only one reason that is because he's not fighting the guys people want to see. And this Thurman fight's going to be the worst of all. I don't think this thing sells 200,000. Nobody wants to fucking see this fight. And it's going to be kind of a backlash, too. A lot of people are going to make him pay. I'm sure his sycophants who are on Twitter all day fucking saying, making up all these crazy theories on how Crawford ducked, but it's just actually funny. The levels they'll go. But yeah, so he's just not a boxing guy, dude. He got all those Canelo fighters by sitting Floyd down in the meetings when he met with them all, and Floyd talked about all the money he made. You saw that 5 million pay-per-views, dude. I'm heating my house with bundles of cash. I have so much of it. I'm burning it in a fucking fireplace. You know what I mean? Like type of shit. Probably the guys they really wanted, they probably took them out on a yacht like he did with Davis. Big yacht and shit. And you get some kid from the inner city and you baffle him with all that shit. Well, you know what I mean? They're getting on, people, waiters are coming over and giving you a shrimp cocktail when you're on a yacht. This could all be you, bro. Al did it, man.
You think that's how
follow the blueprint?
You think that's how it happened?
Well, yeah, I know he did have Davis. He talked about he took him out on a big ass yacht.
Wow.
I mean, he did something similar with the Charlos because I remember when I don't know which one it was, but they kept talking about touching M's, meaning making millions. And Floyd was saying, "I'm trying to start touching B's," and you just saw Charlo's eyes widen. And that's when they were kind of free agent-ish because they weren't really with PBC yet, and people were wondering who they were going to really settle down with. Next thing I know, they're solid PBC fighters in every fight they've had ever since.
Yep. And then listen, if I was a PBC fan, right, how do they ignore this simple fact? Since 2015 or
Oh boy, did we lose Jimmy again?
Right at a good point too.
Yeah.
But if Jimmy gets back in, then I'll obviously shut up. But Jimmy's points are spot on. And I've said this before in the air. It's not that we hate Al Haymon and the PBC. It's the fact that they're not doing anything good for the sport. And it's the fact that, like I said earlier, people aren't a fan of the sport. They're a fan of PBC or they're a fan of the fighters under PBC. They don't really know who Inoue is. They don't really know who Chocolito is. They don't know who Estrada is. They've never heard of Rungvisai. These are guys that are all going to be either nominated for or surefire Hall of Famers that don't fight for the PBC, and they don't know who they are. So you're not a boxing fan.
No, they're not. They're not. They're fanboys. They're
famous
fanboys.
right now.
Obviously, yeah. They don't care about the state of the sport of boxing. They just care about whoever they support. And I would just want to thank Plutonium Loach for his contribution. He says Floyd and Al took Tank Davis on a yacht and pegged him. Oh my God. Probably. We don't know what happened in that yacht. So yeah, that's a
you know
possibility.
the crazy thing is when you think about Inoue and like the people that criticize him, he doesn't really give you no room to like talk bad about him because he's a very complete fighter. Okay, yeah, he got his orbital broken, but you know what? That shows toughness. He's got a fucking chin by getting hit by Donaire, one of the best left hooks in the business, pound for pound. Dude can fucking box. Obviously, he can fucking crack. He's very complete, undisputed. If it were any other fighter, you could find holes in his game to say, maybe he's overrated. Maybe my guy, yeah, he'll outclass your guy. Nah, but not Inoue, man. Inoue is a generational fighter. Generational fighter, dude.
That's true. He's not a nobody, by the way. So it's gonna be a good fight. And hey, listen, this fight is gonna make these LDBC fanboys actually watch the lower weights. Never thought I'd see that happen. All right, did Jimmy get back here?
Yes, I'm back. Hello?
Yeah. I forgot what you were saying though. What were you saying before you
I was saying that that Al Haymon, he was a music guy, and all the big names he worked with, Alicia Keys, MC Hammer, like these were huge music acts, and every one of them filed bankruptcy.
Oh wow, okay.
Good point.
And
you started saying something about 2015, though. You were specifically starting about that year when you cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, 2015 was the year that the PBC started. And I don't know if you heard after that, I said, and since then, look at all the top American black prospects. None of them have signed with the PBC. They're all signing with other promoters. That should be the first sign for like something's not right. So, yeah. I mean, all his champions are fucking aging. Wilder's almost 40. He's going to be fighting Ruiz. What is he going after that? That's kind of funny that Finkel's saying that, well, Joshua doesn't really want to fight Wilder. Take, dude, shut up. Shut up. You've already been you're on video, dude. You're on tape admitting that it was you who put the kibosh on the fucking Joshua fight. You know, you turned down. He's never even regained the money he would have made off that fight. But that's the thing. Even like Broner lost $45 million. You don't see a promoter always is supposed to have, or a manager is supposed to have his fighter's best interest at heart. The promoter is supposed to have the networks. There's a reason why the Ali Act, they don't want to give one person all that power because it's competing interests. You don't have the fighter's best interest in certain ways, so you can't have all those hats. But he subverts it by calling himself an advisor. So he still controls everything, and it's to his fighter's detriment.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
You're talking about how much money these fighters lost by not taking certain fights. You know, this isn't what should be happening. A fighter should retire and be like, well, you know, they gave me the best fights possible, and I made the most money that I could have made You know what I mean? But no, that's what they're gonna look back and these fighters are gonna look back at their career and gonna be like, oh shit, I could have made like Wilder. How much money could he have made if he would have fought AJ? 100 million? No,
120 million guaranteed. Guaranteed. That's the huge thing.
This is gonna sound like I'm a Bob Arum like fanboy, but and I'm not really. But look at this from a certain perspective. So right now, you've had Don King, you've had the Duvas, you've had Bob Arum, Al's come around, Oscar's come around. But Oscar came around as a fighter that became a promoter. But when you talk about all this, what other promoter did such a good job that their fighters actually outgrew them? Main Events didn't. Don King didn't. Cedric Kushner didn't. Oscar hasn't. Well, no, Oscar did. Oscar did such a good job with Canelo. Canelo outgrew Oscar. But that's one fighter. Oscar, Mayweather, Manny all outgrew Bob because Bob put them on such a grand stage that they actually outgrew him as a promoter. I mean, maybe their charisma and they had something to do with it also. I get that. But he put them on those stages to be able to have that opportunity because they couldn't get there on their own. And has Al come anywhere close to that? No. Al hasn't even come close to doing what Don King did, let alone what Bob's done.
No.
And then look at the money all these guys have made. Everyone I've mentioned, from George Foreman all the way through. Marvin Hagler was worth 8 figures before he died. George Foreman, 9 figures. De La Hoya, 9 figures. Manny Pacquiao, 9 figures. Mayweather, 9 figures. All of them. You combine all of the people Al Haymon's done together, they don't even get to 8. So
he's a fraud.
I don't know what everyone's aligning themselves with on how great of a businessman Al Haymon is for anyone, maybe other than himself.
He's not. He's a good at scamming fans. I mean, he has he had like a roster of 200 fighters, over 200 fighters. Remember, right, that was in 2015, right after he stole all those fighters from Golden Boy. He had a big roster, so he had potential, but he wasted that potential. He had the ability to create something great. He had like when they were talking about boxing coming back on network television, I was all for it. I was supporting that. But what happened? Nothing. So who's to blame? Al Haymon.
I can't put 100% blame on him, but he is the constant factor in that whole formula of where it all went from all that.
He's responsible. He's fully responsible. Who else is to be? Who's responsible for this then?
Well, the PBC definitely would, because he allows. See, the problem is when you micromanage everything, and anybody who has left him, who doesn't work with him anymore, except for Lou DiBella, because he's still sucking his balls, because he wants to get back in with the PBC, because he's by himself, even though he's a Hall of Fame guy, he just can't seem to get these fighters. But yeah, people say that. Everybody who's worked with him said, yeah, he micromanages the shit out of you. When you're a promoter of note, like the person on record, like say Tom Brown or Lukowitz, the only thing you're picking is what vendors selling fucking hot dogs and, who's going to be the parking lot attendant. That's about it. Al Haymon does everything. He says what fighters are being paid, who's fighting who. So
he's to blame.
Yeah, it's all on him. He's the one who pitched for that money. Now, here's the thing: because he can do operational fees. If you think about it, it was always sketchy. So you go right to the court filings. Waddell Reed said it was a total of $750 million. I know PBC fans like to say it was $500 million. $750 million, and what was launched in May of 2015. He was in court. Waddell Reed already filed lawsuit on him by 2017. Now think about that. They were already suing for their money back because they could see like everything he promised was going to happen right out of the gate never happened. They never received any money, and they just did their SEC filings for 2022. And the hedge fund Ivy Group and the PBC, the valuation of that investment now is 0.00. It's worthless. Think about that. And where did that money go? You add up all the fucking contracts. You add up all the paydays. Because his lawyer, Mike Hill, was in court and said that we're down to, I think he said $80 million in working capital, for our 5-year working capital, and this was only 2 years into the PVC. So they were already burnt through all that money. And if you add up the contracts, and even if you say go crazy high end for the TV time slots, it just doesn't add up to that money. So he being in Seoul, when you have no oversight of that money, he was given $750 million and pretty much can do what he want with it. And I'm guaranteed he siphoned off, because he's a smart dude with that, So one thing he's good with is siphon, and he's a Harvard graduate in business, and I'm sure he made sure, and he's a contract guy. I guess that's his thing. He can, put up those contracts that are ironclad. And I'm sure he protected himself in layers. I mean, the fucking guy's think about it, guys. With all the shit going on, with what you should be worrying about with his fighters, he's involved with Floyd Mayweather fucking in a ticket scam. They're scalping.
We lost Jimmy again. Damn it. Jimmy, we lost you again. Well, anyways, maybe we should call it a night. We've been here for a few hours now, and I have to upload this on Spotify. By the way, people, don't forget we have this on Spotify, this episode, and on iTunes and these other platforms, podcast platforms. Let's call it a night. Guys, thank you for joining us. We'll see you, I guess, on Friday for Open Lines Friday, all right?
Alrighty.
See ya. Everybody in the chat, thank you for joining us. Hey, let's play the second Renaissance commercial. Hold on.
The world is going insane, and we're on the front lines covering the action. Open panels, open phone lines.
There's an awful lot that you don't know. There are things you never dreamed of. There's another world out there.
Find out on the Second Renaissance.
Yeah, don't forget we have a second channel called The Second Renaissance where we talk about everything and anything that's not related to boxing. So check that out. You can go to the channel section of the BDA channel. There's a section called the channels, and then you'll find The Second Renaissance right there. We should have an Open Lines Friday show. And in that show, anybody can join through the Discord application. So anybody can join on Friday. So yeah, check that out. All right, guys. Anything else? I guess not. Just hit the like. Please hit the like and subscribe if you're new and you like the content. See ya.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in everyone. Totally disappointed in everyone.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in everyone.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be alright, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
Let's just kill a little fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing. Got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA Boxing.